Recording in progress. Recording.
I. Yeah, we're back. No, I think we're in full gear now, Dan. Because Dan, we are
good to go.
Back to the usual.
Are you
good to go?
It's time for us to be
good to go.
Right, Dan.
Can you see how seriously I'm taking the podcast, Phil? Can you see? I grabbed a piece of art, just put it back in. It's just in the background
for the ambiance.
Ambiance.
Be easy. You know, let me even center my cam. Let me make sure my cam is centered. You know what I mean? Like my backpack is in the background, but it's cool. It's artistic. Y'all see the posters. Y'all see the vibes. Y'all know what we're doing out here. Let me center my camera. You know what I mean? Let me give them that wide view. You know what I'm saying? That's too.
Philip. You know what? In this episode, let's not make, because there's so much to talk about. Let's not make the mistake of trying to cover every single thing. Let's let the conversation flow. Let's see where it goes. And let's acknowledge that, you know what, maybe we can skip this one or skip that one. You know. I don't know which ones yet. We'll see as we go along. Depends where the conversation goes. But let's let it flow. Let it be smooth. You know what I'm saying?
Ropa, this is Dan trying to cut the podcast short. Ropa, please note, this is Dan trying to cut the podcast short.
Philip, that person is not paying us. She's getting too much mentions on this podcast.
I've checked the Patreon. She's actually in the top 10. She's never missed a payment. Look, she's never missed a payment.
Speaking of which, the fact that we're getting serious means we expect y'all to get serious as well. So you know what to do. twobroketwimbos.com/donate. Get in the Patreon tier, jump in the group, man. Join the great conversations and discussions we have. Help us choose the topics we're going to discuss, because we've actually got a poll running as to what should we talk about. What do you guys want us to really delve into and use our brains on, all of that. So yeah, twobroketwimbos.com/donate. The minimum tier is just $5, just $5.
That's right.
$5.
Come on.
But you can really flex your financial muscle and go higher than that. I'm saying it right at the beginning of the podcast, because we're getting serious, so you also get serious.
That's right. And it's time that we start the show. Unless you got some comments, then you know what, Dan? Now I'm going to start doing. It's release season over here at the stable. I think I'm going to start teasing a few exclusives for the listeners. And I think Patrons will actually get to listen to some full albums early. We've got a couple of albums that are going to be dropping. And I think Patrons deserve to hear songs before the rest of the public. What do you think, Dan?
I agree, 100%. They deserve to even watch movies before the rest of y'all. So if we got any links to the studios,
yes, we do, Dan. Call Sylvan.
Actually,
so here we go. Here's something exclusive that you guys that'll be dropping soon. Dan, let me know what you think. I actually want to hear you guys' feedback.
I don't like the exposure here. Is that
This is house, Dan. 7 business days.
No, I was gonna ask, is that new Tyler?
Huh?
Is that new Tyler, Philip?
All right, let me just give it to the beat.
No. No, that actually sounds fire. That sounds fire. That actually sounds fire.
Here comes the drop.
They've tried to tame us, to brand our backs with shame.
Think about it.
Oh, that's all we know.
Disloyalty.
They call us the misfits,
Misfits.
but they won't see us coming.
Like Gem and the holograms. You know what I'm saying?
All right, that's enough. That's enough of that. You guys.
Actually, sounds good. Not yet dropped.
No, Dan, no, that's it's not. I'll pay you, Dan. Whoo! I told you I was in the studio this weekend. Whoo, Dan. Whoo! Listen to this. Listen. Dan, come on.
Philip, this is not the music section of the pod.
That's enough. And that's all we're gonna play for now. Stay tuned. Anyway, Dan, are you
good to go?
No, are you
Good to go. Sound of it, thing them.
I am indeed.
Get mad now. Get mad now.
Let me hear a drum play. Let me.
right? Wagwan there. Welcome to another episode of your favorite podcast. The boys are back. It's two broke Twimbos in the building. My name is Danny, that guy, aka Danos the Mad Titan, aka Denford Wake Maraini, aka Denim Beat My Life Your Entertainment, aka I'm done with these streets. Wouldn't want to be just chilling at Diddy's house right now, aka Akuna Mumwendi done more being around the world. Yeah.
Are you making light of a serious situation?
Yes, being around the world. Philip, you know what I forgot to add to the talking points just before you speak. This weak now situation. Anyway, continue. Go on.
I could not care less, but we'll touch on it. And he's here with the unmistakable, the irrefutable, the unquestionable, the undeniable. That I'm still got my freedom above. Phil Chad, aka Philip Applause, the big boss, aka Pizza P, aka Sex in the Lovo, aka Filthy Phil, aka DJ Mkara at the end of curse, Phil on mask. Shamwari, they were drinking, and we're back. Dan, you know today's a special day. Dan, today's a special day. Obviously, a few weeks ago was the anniversary, March 9th. Greatest rapper alive died, some people believe. And today is the 27th anniversary of
Sicker than your average.
Stop playing that music. It's over.
Yeah. Philip, it's okay. We can enjoy the work while deriding the man. But we'll get into it. Let's start off with what we do. Pushing positivity. It's something that we've wanted to be known for on this podcast for a while now. So we're going to continue doing so. Let me start off by shouting out some Africans doing it big. Let me start off locally in Zimbabwe. I want to give a big shout out to some comedians who are really pushing the comedic flag of Zimbabwe high, as if the country is not doing it enough itself. I want to give a big shout out to Slick Pasta, whose real name is Nigel. Nigel Maritinho, who just has come off the Zim leg of his international tour, which he featured some other comedians, including King Kandoro, Tinashe, This Is It, and Tinaya Wayne. And they were part of his Harare leg of the tour, which was at Reps Theatre in Belgravia. I would have loved to have gone, but I was life.
Wait, when was this?
This past Friday. I really wanted to go when I saw the thing. But yeah, as I explained to you, Philip, this was
I missed
this
that
weekend.
one. Granted, I was also down. I was also down.
So shout out to Slick Pasta and his comedic buddies. He's already been in Birmingham, Cape Town, Joburg, and now he's moving on to Dubai for the leg of his tour. So I love to see this, man. Comedians doing their thing. Because I also want to give a shout out to King Kandoro, who's taking propaganda out on tour as well throughout Zimbabwe. Then he's going to be taking it to Joburg and Cape Town. Philip, we're still at the big three stage right now. We'll discuss Just Me later on.
Man, F a big three. It's just big me.
Actually, I want you to think which are the big three podcasts, and then we'll get into it when we get there. When we get to that discussion. Not now, Philip.
You know, if we're being honest, and producer, you need to pull up your socks. We're not there anymore, Dan. I think we've been booted out.
Wait, Philip, we'll get there.
I've been looking at the charts. I've been looking at the charts. We're not there no more, bro.
Continue with the Africans doing it big. Want to give a big shout out to the African winners at the 41st Irauma Awards. That's the International Reggae and World Music Awards. The winners from Africa: Best African Dancehall Entertainer Stonebwoy, Best Afrobeat Entertainer Wizkid, Best African Entertainer Burna Boy, and Best Collaborated Song went to TJ and Davido. So yeah, shout out to them. And then finally, someone we've been paying kind of close attention to in recent weeks because it's been interesting to see her rise in the industry. Tyla just dropped her album, self-titled, with an album called Tyla. It's got 14 songs on it. Obviously, the hit song Water is on it, but then there's some other songs on there. And I went through it because I was like, I want to speak fairly about it. And I actually found myself like, yo, okay, this is kind of enjoyable. It's not... I recognize that the music was not necessarily made for me specifically. But, I mean, you know, some of the songs were bangers. What's the name of that song which had, oh my God. Okay, let me pull it up now. Actually, I'm just going to play a snippet of it.
While you pull it up, Dan, I just realized, you know that poll you just think, people can vote multiple times. Did you know that?
For which thing?
The topic poll. Like, so people can vote multiple times.
No, you can't.
I'm seeing it in the results. Yes, you can.
No, that's not possible. How can you vote multiple? Also, why would you be voting multiple times? Hey, hello, patrons. Why are you voting multiple times? That just seems...
Watch. Look.
Yes, no, as in you can vote for multiple things.
That's pointless. Why would you do that?
No, don't vote for one. Like choose, maybe you like 2 or 3 out of the options you want us to talk about. That's why I said select multiple in brackets, Philip. Anyway, I was going through, I was about to play this song from Tyla's album. So first of all, okay, there's a song with Thames, which is quite banger. But the real one that I wanted to play. No, tune. But the real one I wanted to play was this one. Isn't that, Philip?
Original girl, you want a replica? No. Smoothie, no regular. No. Put it for real, put it on my cellular. No. You don't say you hot. No.
They never had a pretty girl from Joburg to me now, and that's what they prefer. I don't touch no wheel, cause I got a chauffeur. First class, how I get around the world. Just miss me with the drama, unless you come in with the commas. Or DJ, turn the sound up, cause we about to pour the rounds up. From Jersey to Ibiza, they say it doesn't get sweeter. Feel my body banging like speaker. Ooh, sweating on my concealer.
I mean, you know, it's got a vibe to it. Again, like I said, I also recognize in general the music is not necessarily meant for me. But I thought, I was like, oh, so far, actually, it seems to be a solid effort. I'm now going to be keen to see how well it does in the market. If you out there have been listening to that new Tyla, do you think she did what she needed to do as she cemented herself? I would love to know. Hit us up on the socials, 2 Broke Twimbos. Yo, and finally on Africans doing it big. I mentioned everyone. That's it. Okay, cool. Okay, there's a lot we need to follow up on, Philip. Okay, let's try to be strategic and methodical about it. Okay, in previous episodes of the podcast, we spoke about, let me skip the Diddy situation. We'll get onto that. Let's talk about TikTok. Okay, so we've been paying a bit of close attention to TikTok and what's going on with TikTok. As your tech ombudsman, We've been trying to see what's really going on. Just to give you a quick update, we spoke about number one when TikTok was having beef with UMG, Universal Music Group, and Universal took off all their music from TikTok, which could be up to 50% of all songs on TikTok, and in many cases, the most popular songs that were on TikTok. So right now, you can't access any Universal Music songs on TikTok. Then the second thing we spoke about was the fact that in America, the Congress put forward a bill to potentially ban TikTok. So we had a little bit of back and forth, and we're discussing about the implications of that. Well, there's been some developments. Let me share some of them. So, first of all, everyone has said that the way this has moved has been surprisingly quick. You wouldn't normally expect this kind of bill to be pushed so quickly through, but it seems this one went quicker than expected. Partly because of bipartisan.
That's what she said.
The other reason, which we only discovered this past week, was that apparently the intelligence agencies in America briefed Congress about the national security dangers of TikTok. And that's what pushed everyone over the edge. Now, we don't know what it is they said in this briefing. We don't know what details were brought up, but apparently that's what made everyone go, you know what? It's almost unanimous. Let's ban this app. So without knowing the exact details of that briefing, it does make me think a little bit like, I wonder what's going on, because all along I thought it was just posturing and just, usual American politics. But the fact that there was this secret briefing that happened where the FBI, Justice Department, Director of National Intelligence all briefed Congress about TikTok. Yeah. Anyway, part of this conversation also, Philip, and I just want to quickly share this with you because it led to a conversation about it, was Trevor Noah, who was on his podcast saying this.
I think it makes complete sense for the US government to require that TikTok not be run by a Chinese company in America, because just think for a second, would another country allow, would China allow, or would Russia allow America or Great Britain or any of these other places, would they allow them to have a social media foothold that literally can shape the minds of all of its people? I don't think they would.
Let me tell you about TikTok and why I'm glad it could be banned.
I'm gonna pause it there because then they go on talking about some other stuff. But I found that hilarious because, okay, first of all, the thing with the podcast, right? It's just people speaking their opinions. It's just you and me are just sitting here exchanging opinions.
No, Dan, these are well-researched, well-rehearsed topics, but very well-versed. We've got our talking points. Our scripts are very detailed. I shared a rundown. You saw it in the group, Dan. It's
correct.
Like 17 pages.
But Philip, one day when you stand in front of a judge and then he says, okay, can you show us your production team? Do you timber with your producer, Kuti? Yeah, no. All our information is top-notch. No shade, Crims. I just mean in terms of number of people, journalistic knowledge. Because, you're doing a good job. I saw the talking points today. Detailed good stuff. All I'm saying is, I don't expect people sitting in a podcast to have every single statement they make 100% accurate. So, that disclaimer out of the way, it's so funny to me to hear Trevor say, do you think that any other country in the world would allow an American social media app to operate in it?
Yeah, Dan, that has never happened. That is what? That has never, ever happened. Like, Great Britain has never allowed an American app to control the minds of its people and maybe use to sway a very pivotal vote or referendum on whether they should stay or leave the EU. Never happened.
What? What are you talking about, Trevor? Literally every other app except TikTok. Every other app is American-led and come on, man. But anyway, there's obviously a nuance to this discussion, and I want to hear your opinions, Philip. So view this, our valued listeners, as social ammunition to show your just certain level of knowledge. Okay, so here's an overview. American Congress has passed a bill where they want to ban TikTok. There are two main arguments for this. Number one, privacy. TikTok is a Chinese company, which means that it's beholden to the Chinese Communist Party, which is, while not an overt nemesis of the United States, there is obviously a certain level of undercurrents, all right? Or a Cold War, if you will, between America and China. So here is a potentially hostile nation to America that has undue influence over a private company that exists in China. So all the information that can go on TikTok might potentially make its way to the Chinese government. So that's one reason. The second pillar that they're really pushing is, at least that we know of publicly, is number 2, the Chinese government could potentially have influence on the algorithms and the content that people in America will see on TikTok. So if you want to push a certain agenda, or if you want to sow discord, or if you want to create any kind of unsurety in the general American public, the Chinese government has a link to them. So those are the 2 main arguments, right? Which we discussed in our last episode. We can understand certain viewpoints of having those arguments. But the flip side is...
I'm pulling out my pen. Sorry, Dan, just to interrupt you there. You said point number 1, once again, was what? I'm just writing this down.
I'm really helping our listeners. So those are the 2 main arguments. So
you said point 1?
Opponents of that particular bill, they're number 1...
No, supporters of the bill.
No, opponents. I'm talking about opponents. Opponents of the bill.
No,
they're number 1.
I want to counteract. So I just want to make sure, like, the people that are for banning TikTok, the representatives that are for banning TikTok, you said there's 2 main points that they're using to bolster their argument. Those are the points I want to just I want to make sure I have them written down, because I find it fascinating. I want to make sure that I also have a good counterpoint, because this is a debate club now. You know what I mean?
No, I'm with you. Okay, so those 2 points are number 1, privacy. Number 2, influence.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Continue. Now, please continue your point. I shall rebut both points. Continue.
Great. I like rebuts, and I cannot lie. Opponents of the bill.
You're in your 30s, man. Stand up, bro.
Opponents of the bill, their biggest counterpoint in America is free speech, which is so funny to anyone outside of America, because free speech just isn't that big a deal to anyone who's not American. Do you know what I'm saying? That's just hilarious. Anyway, so they say that obviously if you ban TikTok, you're curtailing free speech, because TikTok is used by 140 million, 170 million, I can't remember how many Americans. So, it's their right to use it if they want. So here's an exercise. I don't have a right or wrong answer for you, and I think each of you can come to your own conclusions based on what you value. But here's some things to think about. On the issue of privacy, you claim that TikTok is able to access the private data of 100 million plus American citizens who are using it. And because they're beholden to the Chinese Communist Party, which is the government in China, then they could potentially hand over this private information to China. Here's the thing. China can already get that information, probably even easier than going to TikTok. That information is already freely available. Data brokers are a thing. Every single social media app sells information. Every single app in general sells information. Google's entire business model is selling information. Amazon, let's not even talk about that. You can easily buy that information on the cheap. And in general, the information that is available is your general habits, where you go regularly, which people you're around, et cetera, which is good, which is useful for marketers, maybe not so useful to a foreign government. In some case, I can see why it could potentially be useful, but that information is already available.
So I wanted to come back to that, but I have to push back on that. So Dan, I don't know if you remember, there was a hack there was a story about last year about a government official who had the information hacked, and they were able to exfiltrate this data, and it was attributed to the Chinese government because they were able to hack into the Marriott's guest booking system. So because they were able to hack into now like you said, because they were able to figure out where this person went regularly, they were able to figure out which hotel they stayed at. They were then able to figure out who they were seeing at that hotel, and they used that information to then glean more information from the Marriott's database, and they used that to then I have a point of attack. So
Yes.
In terms of in general, it's innocuous. But when you know who you're targeting, that very broad marketing data that everyone has out on them can be used to cause a world of hurt.
I agree with you. My point is that information is already available. I'm not an insider or an expert, but I find it very hard to believe that there's any special proprietary information that TikTok has that any other data company does not have. But so my point is, maybe in the grand scheme of things, there's a conversation to be had about privacy and data and, these social media apps. We need to look into what they're doing with our information. And I can understand the acceleration of, especially, there's a hostile foreign country that has an app under its thumb that is also collecting data. We should really be thinking about that. But if your cry is privacy, then it should apply across the board because that information is still available. Even if you ban TikTok, the exact same information is still available, firstly. Secondly, on the issue of influence, it's exactly the same thing. All of that influence is available. We just saw what happened with the US election on Facebook. You can influence people's opinions and thoughts and views without owning any of these social media apps. You just need to invest a little bit of money in advertising, hire a few bot farms, boom. So my point in all of this is, while the concerns are legitimate, the answer being let's ban TikTok does not address those concerns, in my opinion. On the flip side, I get why the concerns are legitimate. So maybe banning TikTok is just the first step. Maybe the idea is, okay, there's several things that we need to address. Maybe this is the most urgent one because it's a potentially hostile foreign power. But then we also need to address all the others. If that was communicated, I feel like a lot more people would understand it and be kind of this. Like, listen, clearly data and influence is a big problem. We need to figure out how to fix it. We're going to start with TikTok because it's a foreign country, but then we're going to move to Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all of that. That I can complete. Then I can understand that, okay, that makes sense. Not, oh my God, China, ban it. So that's my
China.
So there's pros and cons on both sides. One, it is a legitimate concern. Two, I don't believe you're actually answering it by this. Anyway, yes. It's time for your rebut.
Yay!
Good to go.
So I was going to say, I think also as a point of clarification, China and America aren't hostile towards each other. They're adversarial. Slight political poli-sci difference.
Although 5 years is not going to go past, Philip. That issue of Taiwan. Anyway, continue.
I think that's a smaller issue in terms of, well, we're seeing a very nerdy topic, but I'm sure some of our listeners who are into like watching global markets and stuff will know this. Like, America is really consolidating a lot of its manufacturing, extraction industries, and fossil fuels to exclude Chinese influence. Granted, there's no getting around it. I think they're capitalistic and the companies are so entrenched in Chinese manufacturing pipelines, for one, that anytime they divest from China, they're going to take a hit. And it's now then dependent on, like, are they willing, to take a hit that big? I don't know how much it's going to be worth, but it's going to be huge. Now, back to your point. Issue of privacy. Fair and fine. Right. If you're talking about privacy, cool. Remember that story when AT&T had a data server that was harvesting data, and it was just being sent to somewhere? I'm not going to mention where, but if you Google it, you get the answer. There's that, right? Dan, there's a guy. It's kind of unknown. He was like a CIA contractor, and then he started seeing things, and then he put them on a flash stick, and then he was telling people, "Yo, the government has a lot of our information, and they're not really being safe with it, and it's really scary how much information they have. And it's this project called Prism that's collecting a lot of your data. There's a lot of metadata that's linking to a lot of people, and it's really scary. And I think it might be an overreach, man. Whatever happened to that guy? Whatever happened? Was that a fever dream?
Snowed in.
So yeah, privacy. There's a Bible verse about, straws in eyes and logs in others, but this isn't a religious, it's a non-denominational podcast, but I'm sure listeners have heard of that.
Well, one day we must do a preaching one. Anyway, go on. Yeah.
So I think that there's also that. And as you've mentioned, Dan, the information that data brokers have, I would say, as someone who's seen it firsthand and who's read about it and so forth, I would say it's far more actionable than a lot of the information these platforms have. Now, TikTok in particular, there have been some concerns raised by a few security experts and people who understand how it works that the amount of data TikTok is exfiltrating is concerning. I think the law of the algorithm and how good it is and how much data the algorithm gleans about you and can use can keep you engaged, it's now... I think maybe it was a little overhyped in the beginning, but it's still a very good algorithm. There's some days where I'm just like, TikTok has no idea who I am, and there's some days I'm like, yo. Like, it even now knows what time of the day to show me certain videos, which is wild, right? So, but I'm on a listen list. So there definitely is that. And I think that is a major concern because there's a lot of things that can be done. There's another anecdotal story. Dan, do you remember there was a time when I can't remember who it was, which organization it was, but they were able to figure out where a military base was because every day at fixed times, people who were wearing Fitbits, it was
Pokemon Go. No, it was Pokemon Go, Philip. You remember? It was they were playing Pokemon Go at a certain time of the day.
I think it was either Pokemon Go or they're going for jokes, but yes, people were able to figure out where a hidden military base was because of the Pokemon Go. I don't know if you've heard of the pizza scale, the pizza meter.
Mm-mm.
So here's another anecdote, but it's not kind of linked to this, but it's something I read about earlier this week and I found it fascinating. So the owner of Domino's Pizza, he went out on TV one day and was like, listen, I can tell with incredible accuracy when we're about to go to war or invade a country. And he was able to do so because he found a very strong correlation between the amount of late night orders that were going to government departments in Washington, D.C., White House, Pentagon, Congress, and the pizza deliveries. And he correlated every time a high amount of orders were going on after 8 p.m. to the day after a war starting. So there's a lot of, like, once you like link all this data together, there's a lot of metadata that can become incredibly valuable. So I like, as an American, if I was an American, rather, I would be concerned about that, definitely. But there's a lot more harmful stuff being done on your home soil. So I totally understand the concept of saying, a Chinese company should not have this much information on us. But
completely understand.
Don't
get me wrong.
Setting a weird precedent that is very inconsistent because what then happens if you have an American company like Facebook, for example, which is publicly traded, and let's say the second biggest shareholder or shareholders of Facebook become a foreign entity or foreign individuals. What happens then? Does CFIUS have to step in then?
Already. Okay. Let me organize my thoughts. So, don't get me wrong. I'm not here saying that TikTok is good, don't ban it. That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm saying the reasons that we have heard so far for banning TikTok apply to more than just TikTok. So are you going to have an across-the-board sort of ruling? Or is this posturing? Is this just political movement, whatever? And of course, we're not America. We're not as affected by American politics, but we are affected by some of those decisions. Another argument that I've seen come up in this discussion about TikTok was TikTok is harmful, especially for kids. it's because it's so addictive. It's designed to be addictive. It's designed to try and hold you on for as long as possible. The algorithm is designed to distract you from everything else. So it's bad. While I agree with that, that is not what is being quoted when it comes to banning TikTok. In fact, that same thing can be said for Instagram. Well,
any form of entertainment
Yes.
ever produced is done for that same reason. We could say the same about PlayStation. We could say the same about TV. Why is TV 24 hours? TV shouldn't be 24 hours then, should it? TV should be 12 hours. Surely.
No, but the argument is, yes, every form of entertainment has tried to do that, but they've done it with varying success. Whereas social media has come and made it so efficient and so successful at doing that, you literally have entire generations that are literally exhibiting behavior of addicts.
Sounds like hating to me.
Full on junkie. So I firmly, I honestly believe, Philip, I honestly, genuinely believe that future generations are going to look back on us and they're going to be like, I can't believe you guys allowed anyone to just use social media just like that. Or I can't believe you guys allowed kids to have accounts. Are you crazy? I can't believe it's possible to get on Twitter and have an account. Man, have you seen how messed up Twitter is right now? I genuinely think that at some point in the future, there's going to be all kinds of regulations. And I would say, if it's not part of your job, you will feel amazing not being on social media. You say it all the time. Fool. You say you detox. Imagine detoxing. Anyway, so yeah. So don't get me wrong. I'm not team TikTok. Hey, don't ever remove it from us. Not at all. I'm just being objective and saying, you say it's privacy. That applies to all the social media apps. You say it's influence. That applies to all the social media apps. You say, no, it's because it's a foreign power. That foreign power can already access all that information that you're trying to stop it from doing, or the influence you're trying to stop it from doing. So why not come forward and have something that's more holistic, even if it's taken at a step-by-step process? Even if you say the first one we're going to deal with is TikTok. Cool. Explain that. Tell us that was, not us. Tell the Americans who live there that that's what the plan is. And then on top of that, I find it amazing that Americans are it's something that we've spoken about so many times, but they're so immersed in their own world that it's America versus China. And there's zero consideration of, the rest of the world is also involved. Would China ever allow us to do this? They wouldn't allow. You have to be capable of thinking of the fact that you're not the only country in the world. It's not you versus the world. Anyway, so that's a quick follow-up, very brief, on the issue of TikTok.
China.
He's
coming back, baby. He's coming back. Can't wait. China.
I'm tired. We can't go another 4 years of that.
China.
I mean, the world's still been a mess, but think of the peace of the past 4 years comparatively. I mean, in terms of public.
I do believe reading an article that the least bombings in the last 30 years were under his watch. I think only Carter had less bombing. So,
okay, Candace Owens. So there's also a follow-up here. You want to share this story about South Africa and their response to the UN Security Council demanding a ceasefire in Gaza.
No, Dan, it's more than that. Well, there's going to be a thing, but I think it's a great moment. The UN had a vote, and they voted almost unanimously. There was one nation that abstained from the vote. No prizes for guessing who. But they finally voted, the Security Council, for a ceasefire, which was ratified. And obviously, Israel is not having it. They were like, how dare you stop us killing babies? This is bad. What about Hamas and the tunnels and the babies? But in all seriousness, I think it's a first and very necessary step in at least stopping this savagery. And I've been having a very existential crisis about this, not to make it too deep. But I think obviously we're living in unprecedented times in terms of like communication, but and maybe the scale of destruction. But I wonder what it was like for people who were for lack of a better term, neutral, witnessing what was going on during World War II. And I think about that a lot. Like, if, like, years from now, when we are asked, yo, during that time, what did you do? What did you say? What side of history were you on? Like, where did you stand? That's also been something that's been weighing on me heavily, because the number, I don't think like we're anywhere close to getting the actual tally. That, like, this is generational devastation. There are families that have been wiped out. There are bloodlines that have been wiped out. There are museums and universities and all the teachers and lecturers at those universities that have been killed. There's a whole set of history of Palestine that has been wiped out, and we've seen it in our own eyes. I don't think like the eradication of the civilization and their culture and their history is something new to this world. I think it's been going on for centuries. But I think this is the first time it's been happening, and the world has been able to witness it in real time. And it still boggles my mind that even when we see the sensitized version of what is happening in the news, in platforms that I would say are very soft on their coverage, it's still horrific. And it boggles the mind that people will still believe or push an agenda. I've got someone I know has a friend, and that friend went to Israel. So they didn't go to Israel. They did like a whole tour of Middle East and Europe, and they went with a friend who actually was an Israeli. And they posted a reel of their trip, and they left out the trip of Israeli. And then the friend was like, yo, notice there's no pictures or video of your time in Tel Aviv. And this person, I don't think they're very political or have like a deep stance, but their response seemed to me to be somewhat reasonable. They're like, hey, yeah, just with what's happening right now, I didn't think it was in good taste to post me having a holiday when there's so much suffering and conflict going on in that region right now. To me, that felt like a fair response. Like, it doesn't mean you're on one side of the argument or the other. It's like saying, yo, I'm seeing a lot of conflict. Both sides are maybe experiencing losses. Maybe let me not show myself having a good time in that part of the world. This person went and posted paragraphs upon paragraphs. I think they were just copying from a guideline, to be fair. Like, how dare you? You don't understand. This is what they've been doing. We are being persecuted. This is all that. Anyway, point being is, really happy that a ceasefire has been reached. Hopefully, it'll be enforced. I'm not too optimistic that'll happen. But in other news, Naledi Pando, you know what I'm saying? She's, like, if you, like, hear me out, Dan. Hear me out. What do you think?
I have no thoughts. Zero thoughts. Okay, let's move on, Philip. We haven't even...
Oh, you have no thoughts? Like, none? Like, no opinion whatsoever? Nothing?
Zero.
No?
Zero.
No?
Zero.
Why?
Clearly, you have some. You tell me.
No, all right. Well, okay. What's going on in Rafah? What do you think is what's going on in Rafah right now, Dan? What's your comment on that?
My comment is that there should be a ceasefire. Immediately.
Okay. And what's your view on the two-state solution?
On the?
Two-state solution.
Two-state solution. Look, my comment on the two-state solution is none. Zero comment. Yeah, no.
Also, this. Okay. Well, you need to do some research first. You don't understand the topic enough.
Yeah, no. First, I have to do some reading. Get some input from people who are familiar with the issue.
It's a complex issue on both sides.
Yeah. No, it's not a complex issue. It's just, I don't know,
Okay.
I don't know.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Listen. Let's get on to our talking points, Philip. And they are all lovely and happy-go-lucky and full of... Let me actually take a quick glance at these these poll results. What do people want us to talk about, Philip? Surprise, surprise. Everyone wants us to talk about Diddy. Or didn't he? Okay. Hey, where to begin?
I think that if we're gonna cut this out, we should have it at the end. I'd rather we just have continuity. Makes it better for the listeners.
This isn't one noticeable, except a jump in conversation. And are we going to cut this out? I don't think this is the one we should cut out. Let's cut out. We'll decide afterwards which one to cut out. So just know that if you are not a Patreon subscriber, there's something that you'll have missed. You won't be able to tell, but there's something that you've missed. And if you are a Patreon subscriber, you'll get the exclusive clip in the group. But anyway, the reason I want to talk about Diddy now, Philip, is because I suspect that a large chunk of our time might be spent on him. And that if that is the case, then let's make that fist. Okay, so yeah. Where do we start? Okay, yesterday, the timeline was aflutter with live images of
a buzz. Dan,
Yes.
it was almost like OJ with the Bronco.
It was a lot was going on. Okay, so if you went on social media yesterday, you probably would have noticed live images and live broadcasts of a raid by federal agents that were happening at the home of Sean Diddy Combs, related to an ongoing sex trafficking investigation. Several properties of his were raided concurrently. And you could see it was wild because they had helicopters or drones, I don't know, whatever they had, like over the property. And it was zooming in on like squadrons of like, it looked like an invasion. Arriving over at Diddy's house. I don't know if you saw, there was a little clip, I should have saved it, of someone who claimed to be Diddy's neighbor. Who was doing the typical, yo man, they pull it up in here, man. No. So the Department of Homeland Security is apparently the ones that led this raid. They said they, I quote, executed law enforcement actions as part of an ongoing investigation, end quote. So
hold on, then I think I found the clip.
Okay.
Well, this is another one. There's one of Diddy's alleged neighbors here. Let's see what he has to say.
I live right next to him. He do too much. It be like buses, like big ass buses. See all type of shit hop out. Especially at nighttime, like around 3 o'clock in the morning. It gets wild. I'm his neighbor.
I don't know, Dan. I don't want to sound problematic, but
that doesn't sound like.
I don't think Diddy has too many black neighbors. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So obviously this is a developing story and we're getting information as it comes out. But what we know now is that there was a raid by, and that's the wild thing to me, Department of Homeland Security. What? Are you kidding me? Department of Homeland Security. And they raided his home. And that team apparently that raided him specialize in human and sexual trafficking. So the fact that they were there, obviously you can determine what they were looking for. As to whether they found anything or not, that's a whole other story. Then there were rumors of the fact that as this raid was happening, Diddy's plane was flying outside the country, but you're telling me now that you got information that he wasn't on it?
I've got breaking news, Dan. Oh, man, I didn't get the bumper. Dan, give me the breaking news bumper. Bam, 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 bam. That can't be the
Wait, let me see if I can find one. I got nothing.
Dan, you're useless. I got one. Don't worry. Here we go. There we go.
Very nice.
All right. Sean Diddy Combs' private plane traveled from California to Antigua amid raids on his homes in Los Angeles and Miami by federal agents, according to flight trackers reviewed by People magazine. On Sunday evening, around 5:30 p.m. local time, the 50-year-old rapper's private plane was tracked departing Sacramento Executive Airport and then landed at Palm Springs International about an hour later. 1 hour after that, the plane took off from Palm Springs and landed in Los Angeles Van Nuys Airport. I think it was a little unnecessary. Basically, it was chilling in San Fran, and then it went to LA. Then, during the raids now, this is where it gets interesting. Then on Monday, around 9 a.m., the plane departed California Airport and landed in Antigua. Antigua, obviously, I don't know if Antigua has an extradition treaty with America, but upon landing, it was confirmed that he was not on the plane. So the question then is, why did that plane leave? Who was on the plane? What was on the plane? Dan, as we speak, have you seen the other breaking news?
Where is Diddy? Where is he?
Where did he? And then the other breaking news is police have just arrested someone who they accuse of being Diddy's drug mule for possession with intent to distribute. So there's a lot happening here, Dan. There's a lot happening.
So an updated story, breaking news that's just come out on CNN. Apparently, they managed to speak to someone from the Department of Homeland Security Investigations Transnational Organized Crime Division. Hey. It's over for this man. And the statement was, okay, it's not verbatim, but they say that this investigation stems from many of the same sexual assault allegations that were put forward in several civil lawsuits against Combs.
That is the breaking news. Dan, take it away.
Okay, so to reiterate, the investigation stems from many of the same sexual assault allegations that were put forward in several civil lawsuits against Combs, according to this law enforcement source familiar with Monday's searches. Agents were authorized to search for documents, phones, computers, and other electronic devices that hold data or videos. This second law enforcement source said. Okay, and then it quotes the previous article that I already read. And then it highlights some of these 5 separate lawsuits that were filed against Diddy, including Cassie, including Joy Dickerson-Neal, an anonymous Jane Doe, and of course, most recently, the one we spoke about, Rodney Lil Rod Jones. So, so armed law enforcement swarmed his homes looking for all this information. They were 100% warranted. They had the warrants, and who knows what they found? We shall find out soon.
The wild part is seeing Diddy's sons, Justin and Junior, cuffed. A noticeable omission was Al.B. Shaw, who I think in recent weeks has realized who his real father is and went back home. He was like, you know what? My dad's still alive. You know, let me just go give him a visit. You know what I mean? Let me see what's happening over there.
I didn't want to laugh when you said that. But when you said that, I was immediately reminded of all the memes, jokes, and videos that have come out so far. So, okay. So, for example, Carisha, Diddy's current ting, or one of his current tings, I guess, or whatever. Was busy posting.
Who's actually recorded. It's part of the Lil Rod case and the Jane Doe case, admitting to sexual crimes. But continue.
Yeah,
that's actually your hero, by the way. That's your hero. City girls up 100, city girls up 100. Yeah.
Carisha is also known as Young Miami. Young Miami is part of City Girls. Oh my God, City Girls up. Na, 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 na. Anyway, yeah. So she posted about an hour before these videos and images started coming out on social media. She was like, "Yo, I'm gonna be live later today. Please make sure you tune into my live." Did she go live? No. Then in another tweet, she said something along the lines of, I wish I could find it. Something along the lines of like, what am I going to do today? Or what are we doing today? Or, what were you about to say?
Deleted. But that also just lets us know that she clearly is not on speed dial, because when a raid of this magnitude happens, considering that the fact that the private jet was called to action on Sunday, Diddy knew this was coming, right? Carisha never got the memo.
Okay,
Sunday,
this is what she posted, and it's got 12 million views. This finna be a fun summer. This is a few minutes before the raid. And the memes, please go to Young Miami on Twitter, Young Miami 305, and just look at all the
before
jokes
it gets deleted. Before it gets deleted.
Everyone's like, yo, turn on the news. Turn on the news. Look outside, girl. Stop tweeting. Look outside.
She ain't there, Dad.
Obviously.
She ain't there.
Obviously, she's not there, but, it's going to be interesting. So Phil mentioned the story about the private plane that allegedly Diddy is not on, but I don't know if they checked the big suitcase that's shivering. The big suitcase that's just kind of chilling there, being handled with care. Did you guys look inside that one?
Did you also see the... So I'm still trying to confirm this, but I think it might be true, because actually looking at Young Miami Steve, she definitely was with Saucy Santana the day before. So there's a video of Saucy Santana being beaten up the night before of this raid and being escorted out of Diddy's mansion. And having to shout, "I'm a celebrity. Why are you doing this to me? I'm a celebrity." And I started to let them know, like, yo, if you have to tell people a celebrity, not really a celebrity.
So, okay, naturally, this is an ongoing investigation. Probably in our next episode, we'll have more information. Or by the time you listen to this, there'll be more information that comes out. So, at this point, it's all conjecture and whatever. But it's so everything that's come out so far in terms of the accusations, which is the sexual assault accusations that he had for those 5 different lawsuits that are running, plus all the general stuff that's been said about him. I'm still shocked at the response. I wouldn't have been shocked at him being arrested or, taken into custody or anything like that. A full-on raid by Homeland Security at his home. Now I'm like, yo, what did he do to make them that mad? So the story is sex trafficking, right? And here's the thing, okay? Pardon my ignorance. Normally when I hear sex trafficking in relation to celebrities, the picture that is often painted is, some girl who slept with celebrity A and then he passed her on to celebrity B to sleep with. Or some girl came to see celebrity A and then celebrity B was like, yo, can I get with her? Or something like, it's like still very shady, still very inappropriate. And I guess qualifies under sex trafficking, but it's not the first thing you think of when you hear of sex trafficking, which is shady, dingy underground dungeons with, 50 young girls that are being thrown into a bus that has got the windows blacked out as it drives to the next. You know what I mean? Which is, I think, what this might be for. So it's all speculation at this point. We'll get more information as it comes out. But yeah, that's what's going on with Diddy. It's not a funny situation. It's obviously a very serious situation. But if you have dark humor, I would recommend...
Go to 50 Cent's page. Go to 50 Cent's page.
Also, do you have the clip? Let me look for it if I have it here of Mace and Cameron.
And Cameron, yeah, I do it. I do have that. I just play that one right now. Let me just play that from my phone so it's on a different channel, because we know Crims likes excuses. Right here, then it's on the same channel. That's the thing. Then I couldn't separate them from the channel.
I got it here. I can play it if you want.
Go ahead, Dan. Go ahead.
Okay, all right. So this is Mason Cameron on Le Podcast. Check it out.
It is what it is.
Your host, Mace and Camp.
What's up, man? How you doing?
Killer, I'm doing good, man. Reparations is getting closer and closer. be sure to give you your percentage.
I ain't had nothing to do with that money. That's all yours, man. I was on the next boat. Yeah, man.
Oh, man.
Closer and closer,
Closer
man.
and closer.
Okay.
The big payback.
This has been the last year. Has really kind of been the big payback for you, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You kind of last week. You went Destiny.
Yeah.
You done Destiny.
I would have paused it there. Obviously, they keep going, but I think that's hilarious. Timing perfect, you know? No need for too much information. You just start off with a laugh. Anyway, that's on their podcast. It is what it is. Cameron and Mace. Their first reaction to this whole Diddy story. For those of you who may not be in the know, Mace wants his money from Diddy. Shall we move on to the next one, Philip? Okay. Whew. It's still along the lines of lawsuits and technology. We probably should have done this straight after our discussion about TikTok, but maybe it would have been too much in that world. But news is just broken that the United States Department of Justice. Oh, wait, hold on. Do people want us to talk about this first? Yeah, we got sufficient votes. The U.S. Department of Justice just unleashed an epic 88-page antitrust lawsuit against Apple. They accused the iPhone maker of illegally fortifying its mobile monopoly. Okay, this could reshape the tech landscape as we know it. Apple obviously fires back and says that this suit threatens who we are and our ability to create the kind of technology people expect. They're doubling down on their innocence. Okay, so Philip, as a tech ombudsman, how do we contextualize this for the people then?
Right. I'm still getting an echo.
Okay, let me give an overview. All right.
I'm getting an echo, Dan.
Oh, sorry. There we go. How are you feeling now?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Great. So let me give an overview, a contextualization, then we can discuss opinions. So Apple is at this point a $3 trillion company, right? They obviously have huge financial muscle behind them. In the States, they are by far the most dominant mobile player. Globally, not so much. Samsung and GTEL are the next biggest. But they obviously have a lot of influence and money. And in the US, in years gone by, there have been antitrust lawsuits for different companies. For example, a very famous one is Microsoft. This was the story behind Microsoft. Back in the day, this was in the 2000s, early 2000s, I can't remember exactly when. The US basically took Microsoft to court to say that you are in violation of antitrust because you create the operating system, i.e. Windows, and you also create the browser, Internet Explorer. Other companies also create browsers. You cannot create both. So you have to create the operating system and also allow other companies to be able to put their browser on. That's like super simplified, but essentially that's, Internet Explorer was no longer as pushed on Windows as previously. And that's what allowed things like Chrome, Safari, not Safari, Chrome, Firefox, and others to blossom. So that was kind of the whole idea behind antitrust. The idea is you can't own the store, own the supermarket, and also own the farm that supplies the supermarket. Because other farmers won't have a chance because you'll just supply yourself and then you'll sell the things yourself in your store. Meanwhile, other farmers and other people won't be able to get a leg in because they don't have a supermarket. And, that's kind of the whole idea behind it. On a much grander scale, obviously, if you're in a small scale, obviously you can own your own store and supermarket. So the argument here is, as Apple, you make the phones, you make the software that goes in the phones, and you make the different apps that people use. That's not fair because now anyone else who wants to make an app does not have $3 trillion of cash lying around to market or push their app. On top of that, in your app store, it doesn't allow side loading. On top of that, you charge 30% for every single transaction that's done through your app store.
On top of that, and I think we can't ignore this, is Apple does one or two things with companies that do dope stuff. They either buy them or they squash them. So
I would say there's three companies that do that. No, in fact, there's four. Because that's the case for Apple, Apple, Meta, Google, and Amazon.
The big four, yeah. But I think in this case, we're dealing with Apple. So the CEO of Tile, when Apple announced AirTags, I'm sure the average Apple user was like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing! This is useful! Wow!" And there's been like, I've got ADHD, so I lose my stuff all the time. So every time I lose my AirPods, sometimes I lose them on the couch. Using that nearby find feature, amazing. Makes my life so much easier. But Tile thought of this first. Tile developed a mesh network, and Tile was the market leader. But because Apple used its intrinsic advantage, that being that every Apple device with an A12 chip or beyond, I think it was even the A10. I might be, but a vast number of their phones could simply be used to be part of that Finder network to help you locate your devices wherever you leave them, right? Mm-hmm. And immediately, AirTags have squashed Tile. Like, Tile is a non-entity anymore. And they've done this with many apps. I literally just got, while we were recording that, I literally just got a notification. I don't know if you saw the Journals app that Apple has released for the latest version of iOS.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I was playing around with it because I wanted to see what it was like. And I use a journaling app called Day One. I will never stop using Day One because Day One does one thing, one very big thing that Apple's journal app does not do. It allows me to export my journals in an open format and in PDF. Apple's journaling app does not allow to do that. But because Apple's journaling app is tied directly into the API, it gives you better features and prompts. Like, it'll tell you, yo, these are the songs you played today. This is where you went. These are the photos you took. This is the workout you had. Here's a little diagram of your exercise rings and what you did and your heart rate and this and the third. And like, it's very tempting. And they do this across the board, especially with everything else that they've done. I was laughing about it today, but Dan, with the last feature of iOS, have you tried sharing your contact there and then you take someone else's phone and you make them kiss? It goes, it's cool. I was laughing about it because before we even started this podcast, Dan, 13 years ago, I remember very clearly, there used to be an app called Bump. It was one of the first apps I ever installed on my Android phone. And what did Bump allow you to do, Dan, if you remember?
Exchange contacts just by touching your phones. Using, I think it was infrared, eh?
No, it was NFC.
NFC, okay.
That was a decade ago. Over a decade ago. Apple now does that. And that is a very big problem. So I think the DOJ's case in certain instances is very strong. The funny thing is, Epic, who sued Apple, lost won one case. Their case wasn't even as damning as the DOJ's case.
I think they might still lose it though.
And that's the thing. Because it's an appeal right now.
Because
wait, are you saying DOJ might lose it or Epic might lose it?
No, not Epic. By the way, in the Epic versus Apple lawsuit, on the overall, Epic lost. Mm-hmm. Okay. I have to recognize that there's some people who are nerdy and plugged into this, and there's other people who are like, what on earth are you guys talking about? Okay, here's the story. If you want your app, your game, anything of yours to exist on an Apple device, it can only exist officially through the App Store. For you to get your device on the App Store, or to get your app rather on the App Store or your program or whatever it is, you have to agree to any transaction done, 30% goes to Apple. As you can imagine, that's kind of messed up because I built the app, I built the game, I'm selling the content, etc., and I must just give 30% to Apple. Also, Apple does not allow you to be able to purchase anything outside of the App Store. So, as an example, if you install Netflix onto your iPhone, and then you want to pay your subscription for Netflix, and it costs you $10.99 or whatever the case is, $3 and something of that is going to go to Apple. Netflix would prefer you just go onto your browser on your computer and go to Chrome and open netflix.com and then subscribe there, because then they don't have to pay that 30% to Apple, right? This is what happened to Epic. Epic is the company that made Fortnite. As you may remember, Fortnite was pooping money because of in-game transactions. So everyone was buying skins and whatever within Fortnite. 30% of all that was going to Apple. And Epic, they took Apple to court saying, yo, how can Apple take 30%? We made the game. We made the skins. All they are doing is just hosting the app. That's all they're doing. How can they claim 30%? So they took it to court. They had multiple charges there, and they basically lost. But the court said that no, Apple should allow you to be able to pay for things outside the App Store. So technically, as a user, you can open a browser, go to the Epic Store on the browser, find the skin that you want to pay for, and then pay it there. And then you don't have to go through the App Store. But realistically, most people are not going to do that. So while it was somewhat of a win, in the sense of Apple didn't want that to be even allowed, overall, it was a win for Apple. Because most people are still going to buy everything that they ever want from the App Store if you're using your phone. I'm sure there was other details. Again, I'm not plugged into the legal community like that and blah, 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 blah. This is just my memory of what that whole Epic Apple fight was. So now I think the DOJ is saying, the Department of Justice in the States is saying, yo, Apple, you can't continue doing this because you control everything and you don't allow anyone else to come in. So I'll give you another. I don't know if this one is public knowledge, but a couple of years ago, Apple became the exclusive partner for a company called GN Resound. It's a Danish company that makes hearing aids. And the idea behind it was Apple was going to make, they made proprietary software, whatever. The idea was if you buy an Apple phone, it pairs best with GN hearing aids. GN made some great sales that year. A couple of years later, Apple cut their partnership with GN. I believe, I need to confirm these details, so don't quote me. But then they started introducing their own hearing tools for those who are hard of hearing that come in an iPhone. So that's what they do. They won't allow, obviously, if Apple starts making hearing aids, everyone with an Apple phone is just going to buy Apple hearing aids. If Apple starts making, right now cars install AirPlay. Most new cars install, or they have AirPlay on there as their media playout system, right? If Apple decides to make anything, it will immediately crowd out everyone else from the market because everyone has an iPhone, at least in the States. They say 60% market share in the US is Apple. The remaining 40% is shared by Samsung, LG, whatever, all these other ones. But 60% is Apple. And under 18s, 90% is Apple. So they have the muscle to do whatever they want. No one can argue. No one can. If they decide, you know what? We're going to do this. They will immediately crowd out. I don't know if even in small things, I don't know if you've noticed the default play. If you just press play without opening a music app on your phone, it will default play the Apple Music app. I use Spotify more than Apple Music. So it annoys me that MacBook. The default is Apple Music.
Same with my MacBook. That was the same thing.
It's same auto. So the problem with that is most people are not going to search for what they want and then install what they want and customize it. They're just going to choose the default, which means Spotify, even if they make a superior product, they will not be able to get the users. Apple will always get them. Now, here's the counter argument that Apple use and many Apple fanboys and so on use. It's good for the consumer because Apple makes good products. And without a doubt, Apple does make good products. In fact, if it's an Apple product, you can expect that it's going to be well made. It's going to be all of that, right? So Apple makes good products and it is going to be secure. There's going to be no viruses. They're not going to get scammed. It was officially made by Apple. Great. So as a user this year, you're going to be very happy. But next year, when Apple is the only provider of that service, they can charge what they want. So I really want to hop on this because it's going to affect everyone, right? So we use the example of Apple Music versus Spotify. This issue was raised in the EU. The thing was, if you use Spotify, you were unable to pay your subscription in Spotify before this lawsuit happened. It would just be difficult to get there. It wouldn't work. Then when Spotify sends you emails, for example, reminding you that you need to update or whatever, somehow on Apple phones, it just wasn't popping up. So the EU took Apple to court and they sued them for $2 billion. Or not even sued them. They just imposed a fine. $2 billion successfully, which Apple paid. Then they made some changes and so on.
Which they begrudgingly made because they then went back and with the latest EU fine, you now have to pay off platform. Right? Is this what we're talking about? You're allowed to make payments off platform without having to incur the surcharge of the App Store. But Apple would put a massive window that says, hey, you are now leaving Apple. You are going to a third party. We cannot guarantee your safety when you leave here. Now, if you're the average user, if you see a giant window of that size, basically scaring you into not leaving, of course you're going to be like, oh, you know what? Maybe I should just stay and eat that 30%. So the EU went back and they said, yo, you think you're slick? Fix that now.
So that's just in the example of music. They did the same with payments. We discussed the whole payments thing where you have to pay through the App Store. That's what Apple kept insisting. But, again, in the EU, it was a big thing, just like what Phil discussed and whatever with app stores. And so this is it's what Apple have been doing. You guys may be aware of the whole conversation about the Lightning connector. Apple is moving to USB-C because Europe was like, yo, you can't make us buy a new cable for your one device when every house already has USB-C cables. So now we must buy this one device. This one cable is just for Apple phones, but everything else. Oh, coincidentally, you're the only company that makes them. Well, officially.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Not only that, do you know the annoying thing is that, like, I think you've been to my office as a nerd. Like, I have a lot of gadgets in my office, right? So we've got the broadcast where we record. I've got a wireless keyboard. I've got an MX Master. I've got a monitor. I've got my MacBook. I've got all these things and I've got all these charging cables. I've got AirPods and now even my AirPods Pro. I've got an iPad, all of these things. Guess what all these things used to charge?
USB-C.
Except my iPhone. Because, I'm not bowling like that. I don't have a 15. But can you even imagine like the frustration of that? Because even if I had a 15, right? If I had the AirPods Max, I would still need a lightning cable.
Yeah. So, okay. So there's that, right? So here's a very funny, and I don't want to dwell too much on this, right? Because it's a little bit nerdy, but hilarious statement. So as part of the statement that the U.S. Attorney General made, he said, iPhone users perceive rival smartphones to be of lower quality. He noted conversations with Android users having green bubbles and lacking encryption, resulting in subpar media sharing, and they don't include features like typing indicators. Apple does that deliberately, by the way. They could very easily just allow, iMessaging, or even not just iMessaging, just some of the functionality, but they do it so that there's a perception that, he's poor, he must be using an Android. And we eat into that. I've made the jokes, you got an Android, huh? And I'm literally just eating into what Apple's marketing is. That's what it is. Yes, it's a joke, I get it, but they deliberately did that. They created, if I have an iPhone and you have an Android and I message you, it'll come across as a green bubble and it won't use the messaging service that Apple uses, right? It's going to use SMS, which is very bad quality. So then now, because of the EU, Apple have said, yeah, fine, we'll use RCS, which is a communication protocol that Android messages have already been using, which allows for sort of like interoperability. But I already know that when that comes in via Apple, it's going to be trash. It's going to be like, I can't believe we're using this. So, and Apple's whole thing is like, no, we just want the privacy and the safety of our consumer. If you have a problem with the green bubble, just buy them an iPhone. Then there won't be any green bubbles, which is true.
Actually, Tim Cook said that, and that's what's being used. So at a conference earlier last year, a reporter asked him and said, yo, when I text my mom, she's on Android. I try to send her videos of my kids and the family, and she gets these grainy pixelated videos. And his response was, well, that's funny. Well, just tell your mother to get an iPhone, which is kind of a horrible thing to say.
It's the same. So, okay, if you have an iPhone, Phil, and you buy a Fitbit, the connection is going to be so difficult. If you buy let's say you buy the Samsung, what is it called? The Gear Watch or whatever it's called?
Mm-hmm.
Or the Huawei or any other smartwatch that's not an Apple Watch, you will go through hell trying to connect it to your iPhone. Buy an Apple Watch, you just put them next to each other. Done. Is Apple incapable of adding that functionality for every watch? No, of course not. They're just trying to force you to buy an Apple product by making it perceive in your mind that any other product is lower quality. So this is kind of what the whole lawsuit is about. It's very interesting because they're going to say that you, Apple, have a monopoly, and because of that monopoly, you're bullying every other business. So that's essentially what the lawsuit is going to be. That's huge because if it goes through, you're going to see huge changes in your phone and your devices and whatever. But the reason that I think it's going to fail is because Apple is going to rely on international markets. You're like, what are you talking about? iMessage.
But they're not being sued for they're being sued for the American market. So within the American market, they have a clear monopoly based on everything you've highlighted.
I think if I was, again, I'm not a lawyer, but if I was on Apple's legal team, I would want to try and highlight how in certain markets, more people buy a certain item, but overall, we are actually the minority.
But that makes no difference. That would be a terrible argument for America because in America, we are being sued by the American Department of Justice for American consumers.
Yes.
In this market, you have an unfair monopoly.
Let me explain why that would be a defense. The reason I feel like that would be a defense is because the claim is that we have made it impossible for other people to buy other phones, which is not true because globally, everyone else is buying other phones. It's just, it seems that it's a consumer preference for them to buy this phone. So the fact that consumers are preferring this particular device shouldn't be against us, as you can see from the global market. That being the case, yeah.
That is an irrelevant argument because it has nothing to... What happens internationally has no bearing on the American consumer. The Department of Justice is operating in the interest of American consumers and American taxpayers.
I'm with you, Philip. So
no, but
I'm not using it as a direct...
I'm telling you, but using that argument would not make sense because it's the same argument that Apple actually did try using the EU, where they're like, hey, yes, we have a majority in America, but in the EU, we're a minority. And the EU said, shut up, we're not stupid.
Yeah, okay. Do you have the same confidence that America will have the same response?
I think the fact that the DOJ is coming so hard at Apple, there's obviously something happening behind the scenes. And I think this is mainly my conspiracy theory, obviously unsubstantiated. My theory here is this is because Apple has been so difficult with, funny enough, circling back to the beginning of the show, user privacy and data. There have been multiple cases of the FBI and government entities trying to access data on iPhones, and Apple being like, hey guys, that's a secure enclave. Can't help you, buddy. And the only people that claim to help were that Israeli security company. So now the government is like, I bet, cool. You want to be secure? Let's see how secure you are. Because I, for the life of me, can't figure that out. The only other reason I can think of is possibly they're trying to repatriate the trillions of dollars that Apple has in Ireland. That's it. Besides that, I don't know. But they've already been acquiescing and they've been repatriating. I think, but the last time it was a couple billion. I'll have to check my figures. We've got a few listeners on the podcast, so I'm sure they're listening to this right now, shouting, "Phil, you idiot! It was 3.4 billion over the last 3 quarters." So I think that's part of the reason. But as it stands, in terms of like market share, that argument is undeniable based on the fact. In terms of creating a hostile environment for apps, I think it is. I think this is all part of. In fact, I really need to read Cory Doctorow's take on this because he's been harping on about this for quite some time, and he coined the term enshittification. And he's been saying that Apple are being used as a hostile, and they've been used as a hostile for quite some time for a number of reasons. The ones cited in the case being part of it.
I'll actually be very interested to see what defense Apple use when they respond to this lawsuit. But they said we will respond with the full wrath of the law. Okay, let's move on to our next talking points there, Philip.
All right.
Let me go back to our votes here. Hansi, I didn't put that. Let's
no,
go.
This one I have to discuss
about.
This one I have to discuss.
Shohei Ohtani.
Okay, then what do you know about Shohei Ohtani?
First time I've ever come across that name in my life.
Really? Shohei Ohtani actually has the biggest sports contract in the history of the world. So Shohei Ohtani signed a $750 million contract.
What?
With the LA Dodgers last year. Yes, Dan. $700 million. The wild part is it's all loaded on the back end. No pun intended. Where he's getting a league minimum for the first few years, and then towards the end of his career, he's going to be getting bulk payments until he's paid out his full $700 million.
Wait, what sport is this?
Baseball. He plays for the LA Dodgers.
700? You mean there's a team that has $750 million in baseball?
Dude, baseball pays out the biggest contracts ever. How do you not know this? They're baseball players that were getting $300 million contracts.
I did not know that.
Yep. So Ohtani will receive $2 million every year for the first 8 years, and it'll defer $68 million per year. And then towards the end of his contract, he'll get the deferred payments plus the owed payments until he's paid out his full $750 million. So this man has a massive contract. This is it was a big story when it blew, right? Massive contract, but also the way they structured the contract, and they structured the contract because baseball has what we call a soft salary cap, where you can go over it, but then you're in the luxury tax, and there's a repeated tax, much like basketball, where the longer you stay over the salary tax, the more you pay. So you're incentivized to not really go above it. Whereas football, for example, in America, has a hard salary cap. You simply cannot go over it, right? So it creates this an interesting dynamic of how contracts are structured, etc., which is very different to like what happens in football, in European football, where there's no real salary cap. There's financial fair play, which is frankly a joke because how many times have Manchester City violated that? But that's a story for another day.
115 times.
that they're being brought to book for, Dan. That they're being brought to book for. For the how many cases have they had in the past 10 years, by the way? Like
115.
No. This is the most recent.
Yeah,
I'm just talking about how many times have they been brought to, how many times have they been accused officially? Anyway,
I think it's complete. Yeah. Anyway.
So that's the backstory. The other backstory, and it's been something that I've been noticing, and I don't know if you've been noticing. Dan, do you watch American sports?
No.
Okay. Have you? I'm sure you listen to a lot of American podcasts.
Well, a couple of them, yeah, but not sport podcasts.
Have you noticed the trend with any of the podcasts you listen to vis-a-vis the sponsors?
Betting, yeah.
Perfect. You remember? I don't know. We didn't touch on it.
It's not just America. It's getting good because even Europe now.
Yeah. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is, I don't know if you caught it, but Miro has a new podcast with Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Anthony being a former basketball star with the New York Knicks. There was an episode that had Joe Budden on there, and then they finally discussed in detail, Miro discussed in detail why, or one of the reasons why him and Mero broke up. I don't know if you caught that clip, if you caught that episode.
I did, yeah. I did.
And there was one thing where you mentioned, it was like, yo, DraftKings came and they were offering us $2 million, and Jesus was uneasy about it, and Carmelo and Joe Budden were shocked, like, this man turned down money? What? That's madness. Now, Dad, I think I know what your answer is. would be. But I, based on my upbringing and based on my moral standing, I am very uneasy with taking money from gambling, right?
Yeah.
I would be very uneasy doing that. So I understood Deez's background perfectly. I also do believe Deez grew up as a J-Dub or has dealings with a J-Dub. So I think that may have played a part in his decision making. So
interesting.
That did not strike me as something that was ridiculous. However, one thing that I have noticed as someone who consumes a lot of sport podcasts, sport media, not only sport media, but just sports in general. Do you know ESPN now has its own betting platform? Right? One of the reasons why Pat McAfee, who was bought to ESPN, is because Pat McAfee had shares in a betting platform with MGM. Even Barstool has a deal with the betting platform, and there's a lot of money. I won't get into the intricacies of it because it's very nerdy, but a lot of money is being transferred in betting, and a lot of ads are being run for betting. The NBA and the NFL have both recently allowed official betting, which has now helped create this influx of betting sites. Actually, John Oliver did a good piece on this a few weeks back, I believe. So you now have an issue which anyone with any common sense would be like, hey, wait a minute. There's a serious conflict of interest here where betting is now prevalent on sports, and players, even though they are not permitted to bet, can easily set up a betting account. But not only that, if you now have betting on sports, and it's not just betting on who's going to win. America has, there's over-unders, there's parlays, there's prop bets, and a prop bet can literally be like, how long is the national anthem going to be? Is it going to be longer than 2 minutes or shorter than 2 minutes? Like stuff like that. How many minutes is Dan going to play in this game? And you can then parlay that bet. So like if I parlay the national anthem bet with how long Dan's going to play, what the score is, with the over-under, with the stat line, I could easily turn $50 into $3,000. That type of thing. It gets really ridiculous. Now, what do you think is going to happen if, say, for example, Dan is playing a game and Phil has placed a number of prop bets for Dan to have a bad game, and then Dan ends up having a good game and I lose my life savings, but I have access to Dan? Like anyone with common sense would be like, wait a minute, this is A, a security risk, but B, a serious problem. Just yesterday, Dan, there's a player from the Toronto Raptors who's under investigation because for the last 3 weeks, DraftKings noticed that prop bets on him were paying out 2,000 times more than any other prop bet. And the prop bets were literally like, he's going to play 5 minutes of this game. He's going to have less than 6 rebounds. He's going to have 15 assists. That stuff. And it's already infiltrating. And anyone with common sense would have realized, guys, this is a problem. Why are we pushing betting so much on sporting and across media? Because now the other problem is the people that are supposed to cover this are all betting platforms. Like they're all sponsored by betting platforms. And it's a hilarious thing because I first saw this on ESPN. And it's ESPN Sports Center brought to you by ESPN Bets and DraftKings, which is a betting company. Breaking news. Shohei Ohtani's interpreter has been arrested for stealing $4.5 million to pay a gambling debt. How could this have happened? So now that I've given you the backstory, let me get into the story. This story is wild, Dan. So this is what happens. Shohei Ohtani is from Japan. Can't speak a lick of English, right? So because of that, he's got an interpreter hired by the team, but he's friends with this dude, right?
Yeah.
And this dude is his interpreter. And because of that, like the media don't even know like what he's like because everything he says is like, and then the interpreter it says it in English. They say what they want to say. The interpreter then translates Japanese. Blah 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 blah. So first things first. There's an investigation. They realized that $4.5 million has been sent from Shohei Ohtani's account to an illegal gambling ring that's being investigated. They then comment someone in Shohei Ohtani's camp and the LA Dodgers, and they give a statement that says, he was just paying off a gambling debt for his interpreter.
Is it illegal for Shohei Ohtani to gamble?
Yes.
Like in
it's so illegal that Pete Rose, who is guaranteed to be one of the greatest hitters of all time, has been denied entry into the Hall of Fame because he used to bet on himself. Not bet against himself, bet on himself.
Philip, do you also watch baseball?
No, I watch Sports Center, so I know a lot of things. Okay. Anyway.
There's too many sports, man. Anyway, yeah.
So the fun part here is they contact the spokesperson. The spokesperson was like, yo, yeah. Shohei was covering his homie's gambling debt. Then people are like, wait. So Shohei was an active player, paid with his money a gambling debt. Y'all do know that's against the rules, right? Then they changed it. Like, no. Actually, you see, what happened is the interpreter was gambling and stole the money for Shohei Ohtani. That's what happened. Yeah. That's what happened. And then they were like, no, he doesn't know nothing. He did not know nothing about it. In fact, he's disgusted. He's disgusted by the betrayal of this man. How could he do this? No. So, obviously, BS. There's two things that happen here. Either Shohei Ohtani's gambling or he knew of gambling. Both of which are big no-nos. Now,
he's gambling.
$4.5 million was sent to someone. Dan, you and I think it's fair to say we're not wealthy, right?
I don't want to put that out in the universe, but
no,
yeah, sure.
We're not $4.5 million in a wire transfer wealthy, right? But let me put it this way. All right, if you and I were to do a transfer that was far and beyond any transfer that we've ever done, or we were to swipe for a figure far and beyond anything that ever happened, what would our bank do?
Call. Say, yo, what's going on?
So my question is, are we supposed to believe that a bank would just allow an RTGS transfer of 4.5 million just to go through? No questions asked, none. Just like work. Meanwhile, knowing homie just signed a $700 million contract. Are we dumb?
This story, though, I think it really highlights, I think it's a very valid worry that the idea of sports betting in sport, it's different if it's, look, everyone should be allowed to do whatever they want to do, right? As long as it's not harming other people. So if that's your thing, you want to bet on some games, I can't tell you not to do it. But I have an issue with it being pushed so heavily because it's obviously harmful. Gambling is addictive and it's being pushed. Imagine ads regularly coming up for, I don't know, heroin or something, or just regular ads coming up for I don't know what else I could think of. It's addictive, man.
No, it's wild. And it's wild.
It's addictive. It's going to lead to ruin financially. If that's just your thing that you do, fine. No one can tell you what to do. If anything, I would expect ads coming up like, yo, this is dangerous. This is bad for you. Gamble responsibly. If you're going to do it, make sure you put in limits. I don't know. Those kind of ads would come up.
But they all do. I think, sorry to interrupt you, but you mentioned this and I have to say because it's wild. And this is kind of before the thing really started taking off. I once tweeted about this. I don't know if you saw it. The disclaimer for the gambling service is often longer than the ad itself. Like, or most of these podcasts, like the ad will be a 30-second to a minute read of like, yo, DraftKings, Sportsbook, blah, 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 blah. Your first $100 on us, blah, 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 blah. And then they'll just be a long read. Gambling is illegal in these states. Blah, 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 blah. If you have a problem, call 1-800. Blah, 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 blah. Do not winners know when to quit. Blah, 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 blah. Yo, guys, fam, if your disclaimer is longer than the ad, surely someone should be like, yo, maybe we shouldn't be advertising this.
And the thing is, the people who go for it are fine. There's going to be the Shohei Otanis and whatever who maybe they whatever's going on. But in general, it's going to be desperate people. It's just so irresponsible. Hey, listen, if you're listening to this podcast and you're looking for a sign as to who to bet on next, take this as the sign. Don't. Just don't, man.
I found this ad. Look, I've got to play this disclaimer because this is hilarious. The ad was 30 seconds. This is the disclaimer after the ad.
Qualification and eligibility requirements. Rewards issued as non-withdrawable free bets or site credit. Free bets expire in 7 days from issuance. Excludes Michigan disassociated persons. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona. 1-800-522-4700 in Colorado, Washington, D.C., Louisiana, Nevada, Wyoming, and Virginia. Call 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help in Michigan. 1-800-GAMBLER in Illinois, Indiana, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. Or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Tennessee, call the Red Line at 800-889-9789. In Mississippi, call 1-888-777-9696. Sports betting is void where prohibited. Promotional offers not available in Nevada.
That ad was at 2x, by the way.
Okay, Philip, let's move on. Okay, let's crypto is down. Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about two more things before we get to Kendrick. Very briefly. So here's a story from Boeing. The CEO of Boeing, Dave Calhoun, has announced his resignation.
So you can say the CEO of Boeing has bounced out. His career has taken a crash landing.
He's flown off into the sunset.
I guess you could say his wings have been clipped.
So CEO of Boeing, Dave Calhoun, has announced his resignation, although he will continue at the helm of the aerospace giant until the end of the year. This is following the mess that has been going on with Boeing over the past several years at this point. You may recall that Boeing had the whole situation with doors flying off in mid-flight and so on. John Oliver had a very insightful, if not very suable piece about Boeing. That I think
Hold on, Dan. This just in from TMZ.
Philip, we need a better one. We need a better breaking news thing. Okay, anyway, yes.
Diddy lets go of Revolt. Diddy is no longer associated with Revolt TV in any form or fashion. The company started in 2013 because it's now completely under new ownership, TMZ has learned. Sources familiar with the deal tell us Diddy recently sold off all of his shares to an interested buyer for an undisclosed sum, but we're told the company remains black-owned. So he sold his shares, maybe for cash, and now he's on the run. You know what, Dan? There's only one way that we can bring this in. We're going to get back to Boeing, but sometimes life just gives you nuggets,
lemons.
And we've gotta take them. We can't waste these. We can't.
I want you to ask yourself one question: if you had 24 hours to live, what would you do? That's some deep shit right there. A lot of pressure. How would you handle it? Mace, what would you do?
Yo, I turn out all the hoes that's heterosexual. Smack conceited niggas right off the pedestal. I even look for my dad that I never knew. To show him how I look in my Beretta too.
That's an unfortunate first line considering the circumstances. But yes. For those of us that aren't Gen Zers, they'll remember in that video, it's very famous because all the artists are incarcerated on the run.
Let's actually give props to our man who decided to share it with us in the group.
Well, he should have been around the world, but that was Titch. Shout out to Titch all the way in Australia. Paying $25 a month for YouTube music. Guys, $25. That's fine. There you go. $25.
Yeah. Hey, it's going to be an interesting week following the Diddy situation. Okay. Long story short, please just watch John Oliver's thing on Boeing because I found it fascinating. I don't know why I was so fascinated with airline. So then I spoke to a pilot, by the way, who is currently working for FastJet. And he was giving me behind the scenes information about the different airlines and aircraft and so on. It's just fascinating to just hear this whole conversation that's going on. But yeah, so Boeing have had problems. And according to John Oliver and his research, it's because they've been prioritizing shareholder value over safety and, the actual stability of the planes. And because of that, there's been so many safety compromises and problems, allegedly. So yeah, it's different if, hey, Dan, that chair you bought isn't so safe. You might fall on it. And the plane is not safe. What? The plane. It's so wild that right now, on all those flight aggregator sites like Expedia and where you look for flights and they try to calculate the cheapest flights to get from here to here and, string together connecting flights, etc. You can now specify that you don't want to use a Boeing flight.
Oh, I've been able to do that for quite some time. When the 737 MAX was being funny, I've been doing that. So I went shopping, but I'll give them a shout out. Shout out to Hopper, shout out to Trip.com. They do the same thing. And I always exclude a 737 MAX. No, I'm just, but in Africa, we don't have the luxury of excluding all of them because
unfortunately,
we only have Embraer, Airbus. We don't really have unless it's a long-haul flight.
Embraer, in the industry, are viewed as extremely safe, like really well put together. So,
So there we go. Embraer is mainly used in the budget airlines, which is unfortunate. Really.
They don't really do like long distance flights. So maybe that's why they have such good safety ratings, because they only ever go like 1, 2, 3 hour flights. But anyway, let's move forward then, shall we, Philip? Let's talk. Okay, I put this in the talking points because I wanted to discuss very briefly about Beyonce's new country album, Cowboy Carter, that's coming up, and some of the criticisms that have been going on around it. And, I was about to put it on Twitter and I was like, no, you know what? I've got a podcast. So Beyonce, as you know, has been she's basically on a PR blitz. And she's pushing her upcoming album, which has got country songs on it. She says it's not a country album, but that's basically what it is, with a lot of imagery surrounding traditionally country stuff. It's going to be called Cowboy Carter. I don't know when it comes out. I think it comes out this weekend, maybe something like that. So there's been an ongoing beef between Beyonce and Erykah Badu, because Erykah Badu has been posting that Beyonce keeps stealing her looks. I made a mistake when I put in the notes. I actually didn't want to talk about Erykah Badu and Beyonce's beef. I want to talk about Azalea Banks and Beyonce's, I can't even call it beef. So Azalea Banks went on a bit of a rant after Beyonce, revealed the album cover of her album, Cowboy Carter, where she's dressed up as a rodeo queen, sitting backwards on a horse, carrying the American flag. And Azalea Banks decided to call her out on her Instagram, and it was brutal. So you hear the background. So Beyonce says that, first of all, she's from Texas. She's country herself. And, when she performed at the Country Music Awards, 2-3 years ago, and she came out with the Dixie Chicks, she says that she felt a lot of negative energy towards her and that she wasn't wanted there because she's a black woman. So she's reclaiming that by putting out her own country music at the moment. And after all, it is our stuff, right? That's whole Beyonce's angle. And we spoke about the PR element of this before, and the fact that obviously Beyonce is a good musician, but she's also an amazing capitalist. So she's able to build this whole social message around her music, which is, listen, country music comes from black folks, what is it? Folk and blues and whatever, all of that. Anyway, so y'all need to chill. So that's a whole other discussion. But this is what Azalea Banks said. She says, "Sis, I live for White Yonsei, Donatella, Bianca Bardot down, but I'm kind of ashamed at how you switch from baobab trees and Black Parade to this literal pick-me stuff. There was so much pertinent cultural commentary to be made here. I don't get why you have to be in white woman cosplay to make what's really folk, bluegrass, adult contemporary, facsimile country music. There could have been a humor to it which would bestow upon you even a smidgen of personality to make you an interesting person again, but you're reinforcing the false rhetoric that country music is a post-Civil War white art form, and subsequently reinforcing the idea that there is no racism, segregation, slavery, violence, theft, massacres, plagues, manifest destiny, craziness that form the bedrock of epithets like proud to be an American or God bless the USA." And then she says that Beyonce has an obsession with being boring and pretty all the time. We want you to be deep and artsy and avant-garde and F our heads up and shift culture. She says she is using her capitalist advantage to score a number one hit with her country tracks. And meanwhile, other country artists have far superior music. In 2024, being the first black woman to have a number one on the country charts, is that an accomplishment when you've clearly used your capitalist advantage to smother out currently existing black artists in country music who've been grinding for years but don't have money to send fruit plates and backstage passes to Grammy voters? I'm sorry to rain on your parade, sis, but there's actually nothing monumental about it. Had you made a great country song, going number one should be the headline without the weird race part. But like Kelsey Ballerini and Carrie Underwood should have better songs than whatever nauseating Little Bear on the Prairie stuff is going on. Okay, so very, very firm hating and fighting words, and I'm not on Azalea Banks' side. I don't think she's like, yeah, give it to her, sis. But I did read through some of those comments, and I was like, yo, I feel like some points were made a little bit. Because Beyonce's whole thing of, yo, I'm going to be the first black person that puts out a number one song, and that's being celebrated and all of that. But the song you're putting out is typical country music that is associated with anti-black rhetoric. What if you made a song that was still kind of pushing your pro-black power messages that you've done in previous music? Or at the very least, if you were making fun of the music, but no, you're literally cosplaying as one of those artists. And then the fact that you have so many black fans behind you, you now make it seem as if it's this big win for black people in country music, when it's really just your regular fans who are streaming the same music, and you haven't done anything to address the inherent racism that exists with things associated with country music. I was reading that. I was like, some points were made.
So I'm not defending Beyonce, because
yeah,
I also have issues there. But how would she address the issues in country music with the single?
Obviously, no one has. She doesn't have the responsibility to do that, unless you believe Uncle Ben. But I think the point that is being made is, you put yourself forward as someone who's there to fight the black cause. From formation to just your general music and your general public persona. You are out to fight the black cause. So you don't have to, you're not forced to, right? You could just be making music to make money. But you've positioned yourself as this black artist who wants to fight the black cause, fight against racism, fight against the system, the system that exists in America, which continues to tread on people of color, right? This is who you've positioned yourself as. So now your wording that you've put forward is that as a black person, we coming for country music too. But the music you made, so far at least, is just a typical country song, and you dress up like a typical country girl who would be making that typical country music. So all you've done is just added to the country music that exists. You made your money from your own fans that would have listened to your music anyway. Now, again, I'm not saying I agree with this completely, because I don't know Beyonce's music that well, right? But when I read that rant, at first I was like, damn, Azalea is a grade A hater, first of all. But then as I was reading, I was like, there's a bit of me that thinks like, you know what? Beyonce could have, and she's under no obligation to do it, but she could have, especially since she positions herself as this person, fight the fine fight. She could have also used this as an opportunity to, what about making something that, where the messaging of the song wasn't, this ain't Texas, this ain't Hold'em, and it was more to push that particular message that you have said that you push across. Instead, what you are is someone who just made a song to make money because you realized there was an opportunity here. I don't know if that's true, but, little bells are ringing in my head as I read that statement. I was like, I don't know, I'm now looking at Beyonce a little bit sideways because, yes, why didn't you, just do it a little bit different? Of course, the album is not yet out, so, maybe more information will come out when it comes out. But even just looking at all the pictures from the shoots she did and all the album art and all of that, it does feel very much like she's just cosplaying white country girl.
I'm struggling to quantify my thoughts because I think people are expecting a lot from a capitalist. I think B, people are expecting a lot from an artist. I do take umbrage, and I understand it. I understand the creative direction of our album cover.
Yep.
It still, this doesn't sit right with me. Using those colors, using that symbolism, knowing what's attached to it, to me doesn't sit right. I get you're representing your state, where you're from. I get it, but also for a lot of black people who aren't from Texas, it's gonna leave a sour taste in their mouth. All right. I don't think that dictating how an artist approaches their art is fair. So if she chose to do country music, fair and fine. What she chooses to sing while she's making country is also her prerogative. Because I think to quote the fine philosopher and thought leader Killer T, I think I bet the album you know, sometimes you need just a good feel good song. Not everything must be, you know, fight the powers, blah 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 blah. So that I understand. Now cosplaying, exactly. Cosplaying as a white girl, I'm not too. I can see where it's coming from. I don't necessarily agree with it. What I do think is, I think Beyonce and her PR team pushed a little too hard on the we're reclaiming these genres narrative. I think they pushed a little too hard on on trying to be the premier black, because there are a lot of black artists making country. I'm forgetting her name right now, but there's an artist I came across. I can't remember how. I think I saw her perform at the American Music Awards. And she was a black artist. I've got her in my Apple Music. I just forget her name, and she's an incredible country artist. There's a bunch of black country artists that have been doing great stuff. Azealia Banks actually mentioned a couple in that very long rant. I've never seen Instagram stories used for dissertations, you know? I think that's a use that I must give her credit for. Like, she really has found a way to submit 3,000 word essays into Instagram stories. That's a skill. But all that being said, I don't think it's fair. I do also think like with Erykah Badu saying that she stole her look. Okay, you're a black woman wearing a cowboy hat. How novel is that? Like, how unique is that particular look? Unless there's like a B on the hat in the same font as your B on your cowboy hat, and she's wearing your exact same outfit, and then she's singing Window Seat. I don't understand why. I don't get the reference there. I don't get the connection.
And I mean, to be fair, I wouldn't even be able to begin that conversation because I don't have, you know, a catalog of Erykah Badu's looks and Beyonce's looks and the similarities in between. I mean, I wouldn't even know to begin. But again, the album is dropping this weekend, I believe. I think it's this weekend or maybe next weekend. I don't know. But when it comes out, it's going to be very interesting to see what the overall body of work is going to be. It's just a collection of country sounding songs. Is there going to be some kind of message? Is there? And I don't know. Obviously she's a lot. I'm not even trying to police her or anything like that. She can make whatever art she wants. But I can also understand if you've positioned yourself as a certain kind of artist. Say, for example, you've come out as a rapper who decides that, you know what, I'm going to push positive things on it. I'm going to try to get drugs out the hood. And you're putting out music about getting drugs out the hood, right? And then you're putting out that music, you get famous for that music. You actually sell that music. And then you put out a song featuring Future and Ghana talking about pushing, you know, we on the street corners. You're allowed to make whatever art you want, but the context is now we're looking at you sideways because, wait, we expected that you were making a different piece of art. This feels a little bit like a sellout situation. I'm not saying this is what Beyonce did, but there is an element of feeling of that wait, is this really, yes, yay, let's go, sis, let's reclaim that genre. It's just you made the exact same song that they've been making. It's just not as good as what they've been making because that's what they've been making, but you know, it's like when Beyonce came and did Afro beats. You know. Do you remember any of the songs? Brown Skin Girl maybe is the only one that lasted. Anyway. Okay. This is the big one. This is what the one that everyone wants us to talk about, Philip.
If you're in Metro Anna, let me load them up. Crims, be ready. Because, you know.
If young Metro don't trust you.
So, the backstory here is, I've actually got let me collect myself. I'm so excited. First, I've got to give a shout out to this YouTube channel called What's the Dirt. Yeah. I don't know. I'm familiar with this channel, Dan?
No.
If you are a fan of hip hop, granted, he's a young Gen Z white dude, but he clearly loves hip hop. He does his research. About 2-3 months ago, this man did a deep dive on the subliminal beef that the subliminal beef that Kendrick and Drake had been going at each other. And he was breaking it down from years back. Great editing, great clips, great narrative. He's done a couple of them. 9 days ago, Dan. Well, no, not 12. But 9 days before the release of this Metro Booming project, this man did a deep dive. And he said, yo, Drake and Cole have been shooting at Kendrick for a while now. And Kendrick is about to shoot back. And he detailed the relationship, and he detailed how Cole and Kendrick were friends before, how they did songs together, how they were separated, how Kendrick was always viewed as the superior rapper. We obviously, all of us we've lived through the time where Drake was seen as MC Sleepy. Like, you remember those memes and those jokes, those Twitter jokes. Dad, I'm sure you remember that time. Or the terrible J. Cole punchlines. The terrible, terrible J. Cole punchlines from Born Sinner onwards, which hurt me because to this day, Friday Night Lights is probably my favorite mixtape, only second to Trap or Die. And that's saying a lot. Friday Night Lights
top mixtape.
Friday Night Lights is one of my favorite mixtapes ever. I love it. Like, I resonated with that thing so much. J. Cole was one of my favorite MCs. His first album let me down because I was just like, why is he on so pop? But anyway, and the J. Cole that I wanted him to become has been the J. Cole that we've got for the last 3 projects. That's the J. Cole that I always knew. And J. Cole has been cementing himself as a premier MC, not just with his braggadocio and bravado, but amongst his peers, amongst all the features he's been killing. K. Dot is K. Dot. Like, there's how much more that needs to be said. The interesting subtext here is, and I've been noticing this for a while as well, but I haven't really been following closely enough, but I have seen that, Drake and Future don't seem to be aligned anymore. There've been a few subliminal shots at each other. We heard, if you remember, there was a time where Future was asked about Wait For You and the success of that song, and he was basically like, that song never happened. I've never seen all 3 of the artists performing that song live. If I'm wrong, let me know. So something clearly happened between Future and Drake, and there have been some shots being fired subliminally here and there.
There's going theory, by the way, is that, because remember they did an album together, What a Time to Be Alive.
Mm-hmm.
And they also promised that there was going to be a follow-up. There was going to be a second What a Time, I don't know, What a Time to Be Alive 2, or whatever it was being called. And it didn't happen. And I think from Future's side, he started building a little bit of resentment towards Drake. Anyway, that's been the word in the streets. That's what's caused this little.
The streets are missing. So there's a few key details, and it was rumored, but it was confirmed by Drake himself, and he confirmed this by playing a video. So let me give you the context. And it's hilarious. So the rumor has been that they were beefing for a number of reasons, but one of the main reasons was Drake snaked Future on a woman.
Yes. But I mean this happened after that. But anyway, yeah. Go ahead.
But I think that might have been the straw that broke the camel's back. I think also obviously the joint project with 21 Savage was another thing, because Future was obviously looking that away, like saying, well, you did a collab project with a rapper. Oh, okay. I see a rapper from Atlanta. Oh, okay, cool. Cool. But anyway, this woman is I'm not gonna give out a handle, but basically her name is Diana. Her byline is Princess on her Instagram page. There's a song on the new on the new project called Magic Dawn 1 (parentheses Princess Diana). And last night at his show, Drake had videos of the actual Princess Diana playing while he was performing, damn near confirming the song. But I think the first thing we need to do is go to the intro of the song, I think.
Yeah. I met you. Yeah. Your metro. Yeah. Okay. Eva couldn't even Pluto told his heaters leave nigga in the freezer. I'm big as a beater. On a diva, I'm hot than a fever. Put dope on 1 liters, more stripes than Adidas. I got these regular hoes, I got superstars taking pictures of me like the Fed. Check out my video, little bit of silly hoe got me with $1 million jewelry in the bed. Grip the 40 while I'm sleeping my hand. Drink the dope and I get cool as a fan. Turbo motor.
Why are you making me listen to Future, man?
Because it's good. It's good.
No. I can't stand Future, man. But anyway. Let's focus on the real issue here. The big three.
I've got to focus on this because there's also
Future and Metro and Drake and
so
Future and Metro.
On the title,
cool. That's side note. The big three is what we're interested in here.
I made sorry, I played the wrong song. Right? On We Don't Trust You. Here are the lines that Drake. Let me find them.
That's what I thought you were gonna play.
Fate and hate written all over you.
Hate ran all over you.
Smiling faces, sometimes pretend.
Future's hurt, bro. This is hurt.
Smiling faces, show no traces of the evil that lurks within.
Fake written all over you. Hater written all over you. Fake written all over you. Yeah. I've been in the cold, cuffing my toes, but I still stuck to the code. Money won't fold, pockets won't hold enough. Taking my polar now, effing in and out. Take me anywhere, I'm taking over the trap.
Go to the second verse.
Let me skip for it.
We don't change you. You a nigga #1 fan, dog. Sneak this and I don't understand, dog. Pillow talking, acting like a fed, dog. I don't need another fake friend, dog. Can't be about a hoe cause I'm sharing, dog. And your feelings, nigga, while you paying, dog. Give her back shots while she laying down. Keep the cock on trust hole. Top shot her going for the gusto. Like a real dog got a mud hole. Get the
And I think that sealed the fact that this was over a woman.
So, okay, here's okay, you must have been under a rock, right? So, in case you don't know, Future and Metro Boomin just released their project together. On their project is a song called Like That. And on that song, J. Cole has a guest, Kendrick Lamar has a guest verse. In that guest verse, he makes several references that everyone's like, oh, that's a shot at J. Cole. Oh, that's a shot at Drake. For example, he very clearly speaks about, what's that song that they did? First Person Shooter. He literally says, he references First Person Shooter. And then ultimately he says,
who's the top call? K. or Brio? Is it me?
Yes. In First Person Shooter, J. Cole says,
numero uno.
Which, to be fair, I remember when I heard that verse, I was like, it's a little bit too kumbaya for hip hop. You know what I'm saying? A non-feature on this song, like, oh no, we the big three, you know? It's the three of us. Yay. I didn't think too much of it, but I remember the thought just came across my mind, like, oh, J. Cole's being very kumbaya over here. The big three, K. Aubrey or me. And then Kendrick comes out and says, mother F the big three, it's just big me. Which I think, you know, the idea of who's the best. We're not going to share this. There ain't no big three. I'm the best. And of course, as a Kendrick fan, for me, you know, and again, I love J. Cole. I love J. Cole is of current crop, my second favorite. But, you know what? this is what I was thinking of, Phil.
Mm-hmm.
Drake is like Harry Potter. Light, content-wise, but very popular and fun. The baddies love it. You know what I'm saying? The baddies love it. It's the most popular, the best-selling, most viewed. Drake and Harry Potter, same. J. Cole is like Lord of the Rings. It's a little bit more nerdy. You got to get into the weeds a little bit, but it's still got some commercial value to it. It's less about the lights and the brightness and the play and the entertainment, and it's more about the lore and the story. And you know what I'm saying?
This is the nerdiest hip hop discussion ever, and it's not even.
And Kendrick,
like within the confines of hip hop.
Kendrick is Game of Thrones.
Like, this is like Dungeons and Dragons nerdy. Like, goddamn.
Kendrick is Game of. This is what people tune into here for, Philip. This ain't no Joe Budden podcast. Yeah, Kendrick is Game of Thrones, Philip, because that's now like commercially appealing, but not because it has anything commercial in it. It was genre bending. People didn't expect that this kind of thing would make people would love it, but they loved it. But it's got layers. It's deep. You got the casual fan who just kind of likes, oh, this person's rhyme's good. Then you got fans who like, no, I like fantasy. You know what I'm saying? And, I like the storytelling or whatever. Then you got people who go deep into the lore and watch 2-hour-long Alt-Shift-X videos on YouTube that explain why this person was standing in that particular place wearing that particular color. Something that you could never do with Harry Potter because it's more light and it's more fun. Now, obviously, everyone's going to have their favorites among the three. People might even like all three. But it's understandable why someone would argue for theirs to be the GOAT. Is it based on numbers? Is it based on artistic integrity? Is it based on lore and storytelling?
But the odd thing about that is, numbers-wise, Kendrick Lamar is the least successful of all those artists. Amongst his peers and amongst critics, Kendrick is probably the most regarded, but commercially, he's the least successful, especially with his last album.
That's kind of the point that I'm making. It's almost like
Game of Thrones did numbers.
So this is almost what I'm describing. I'm describing a sliding scale from commercial success, right? Sliding down. Drake is obviously the most commercially successful. Then you have, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, like artistic merit, or the dude won a freaking Pulitzer Prize for his album. I mean, artistic merit. And then they slide, they meet at J. Cole, and then they go past. It's like, there's 3 podcasts, right? There's the Black and Forth podcast. Light, commercially successful, fun. The baddies love it. You know what I'm saying? That's Drake. Then you've got 6 Foot Weights. They actually discuss some things, but it's also kind of light. You know what I'm saying? Not as commercially successful as Black and Forth, but they got their fans. They have a nice mix of sometimes they get into the weeds and get into in-depth discussions, but it's mostly light and fun and whatever. Then you've got 2 broke Twimbos, which would be the equivalent of Kendrick Lamar. You know what I'm saying? In-depth discussions. You know what I'm saying? Like a proper understanding of which other Zimbabwean podcast are you going to have a discussion about the Department of Justice in the USA and their court case against Apple and how that might affect you as Gilbert living in Cranbourne? Which other podcasts are you going to listen to where they're going to sit down and they're going to be like, nah, but what is the future of TikTok based on Universal Music Group, based on da-da-da-da? No other podcast is going to do it. That's the Alt-Shift-X analysis of our podcast. If new rock stars were to choose a podcast in Zimbabwe to break down, they would have no option but to choose 2 broke Twimbos. That's what I'm saying. Where Kendrick Lamar is 2 broke Twimbos. 6 Foot Weights is J. Cole. Drake is, and it's not a shot at it. It's not a shot because everyone can have their favorites within. In fact,
it's not a shot. It's not a shot. These are not shots. These are not shots.
You see, okay. Kendrick fans watch anime in Japanese with the subtitles. J. Cole fans watch anime with English dub. Drake fans
don't even watch anime.
Don't watch anime.
They watch Last Airbender on Netflix.
Drake fans are watching Keeping Up with the Kardashians. That's, you see what I'm saying? That this is I'm trying to think of any other comparisons I could make.
So in essence, what Dan is saying is F a big 3.
It's just big mean.
It's big we.
And I love it. So again, one of the cool things about hip hop, which doesn't work anywhere else in society, is a legit argument about who's better. Not, I think that person better. As in, I think I'm better than you. Nah, I think I'm better than you. And that's acceptable, and it's actually fun to listen to, and people can have their takes as who they prefer. If it isn't clear, I'm a huge Kendrick Lamar fan because thank you, Philip, for that. And I just let me just take this opportunity to say, it's okay to like different things, but I've seen a lot of takes recently. For example, even Drake, this was credited as a shot against Kendrick, where in one of his songs, I can't remember which song it was, he says, I'm pushing P, you're pushing PTSD. Man, I've seen people say, yo, man, ain't nobody want to dance to Black Power music in the club. And then Kendrick went on a Metro Boomin beat and changed y'all's perception of that anyway. But still, the point is, I understand if you prefer listening to punchlines and you're like, oh, I can't believe he made, that punchline and whatever. Cool. That's cool. You know what I mean? That's what you enjoy about hip hop. But surely you can understand that there's someone who prefers, like, a punchline is a bit light. I want someone who's got like a metaphor that runs across 3 verses that's linking to a song from 1962. You know what I mean? Like, it's a bit pretentious. I get it. I know it's pretentious. But it's the same as someone who follows Pinterest and likes a picture because it's pretty, and someone who goes to an art gallery to study the style of a Renaissance artist who changed his brushing technique. Do you get what I'm saying? It's like, if I just like a pretty picture on Pinterest, that's going to be boring to me. But if I like this in-depth analysis, then that pretty picture is just like, yo, this is, you know what I'm saying? So that's what it is. And it's okay. But y'all are wrong if you think that Kendrick Lamar is the weakest of the 3. I shake my head at you.
Wait, your argument is all over the place. Anyway, but I think let's just get to the meat and potatoes. Let's get to the meat and potatoes. Let's get to what the people came here. Let's see the breakdown.
Pop another bottle if you like that.
These niggas talking out of their neck. Don't put no coughing out of your mouth. I'm way too paranoid for a threat. Hey, let's get it, bro. DOT, the money, power, respect. The last one is better. Say yes, a lot of goofies with a check. I mean, I'll hold them.
Okay, I just gotta stop. The entendres in this. Dude, you know how insulting a goofy would take? So, okay, I don't want to be that person, but call it.
Be that person. Be that person.
Genius. Dude, a goofy with a check. He's calling him goofy as in a goofy dog. Check. Nike check. Also, you're verified on Twitter. Goofy is not threatening. Danzi, you're a dog. Goofy was a dog. For all my dogs. Danzi, you're a dog that's barking, but you're not a threat. You're
There's a lot of goofies with a check. I mean,
yes, a lot of goofies with a check. I mean, I'll hold them sentiments symbolic. My temperament bipolar, I choose violence. Okay,
and the guy you said, then I push PTSD near mental health. It bore bipolar and I choose violence.
My temperament bipolar, I choose violence. Okay, let's get it up. It's time for him to prove that he's a problem. Niggas clicking up, but pay not be legit. No 40 water, tell him. Yeah, get up with me. Sneak this and first person shooter. I hope they came with
be legit. 40 water.
Like smelly melt if I had to.
What did he say?
He said niggas clicking up, but cannot be legit. No 40 water.
But also it's a reference back to the line about the guns. Click, click.
Yes, but you see, E40 and Be Legit were part of the clique. So he's saying these niggas clicking up.
And they've got a song called
referencing
Water, which is the sample on the song. Come on, guys. Come on,
Tyler
guys.
has a song called Water too. I mean, and I get it for most people. For some people, they don't like this. Like, yo, I just want something that's cool and it's got punchlines and I can dance. And they'll say like, you reaching. We ain't reaching, man, because this is what he does on every song.
Also, and also not to discredit, this is what Drake and J. Cole do. Drake is so precise with his disses, and it's been said multiple times. Even Kanye said it. Kanye was like on Drink Champs, when Drake disses you, he will diss you in a way that only you will know he's dissing you. And then when you come out and you're like, Blaz, you shot at me, people think you're crazy. That's exactly what Drake did to Joe Budden.
That's corny though. That's corny.
Joe Budden heard the diss. The mistake Joe Budden did is he responded before the song even came out. And now I think Drake just ignored him. But that's what Drake has been doing for years. Surgical disses. And the only person that could bring him to bear was Pusha, but that's a story for another day.
I crash out like fuck rap. This Melly Mel if I had to. Got 2 T's with me. I'm snatching chains and burning tattoos. It's up. Lost too many soldiers not to play it safe. If he walk around with that stick, it ain't Andre 3K. Think I won't drop the location. I still got PTSD.
Who said that they walk around with a stick?
And he said his it's not like 3K, meaning it's not a flute.
Yes. So J. Cole once said, "I walk around the hood with a stick."
Mm-hmm.
All right. In fact, he's got a song called "Stick."
Mm-hmm.
And Kendrick here says, if you walk around with that stick, it ain't Andre 3K, because Andre 3000 very recently is famous for which stick? The flute. Of course, stick here reference to, that piece.
And once again, now he's shooting back at Drake. Think I won't drop the location. Remember when Drake did that song where he was giving directions from his house to Kanye's house? Made a drop at the light. He's like, oh yeah, I still got PTSD. Man, guys, this is such a great verse. Like, outside of just beef, like, this is such a well-crafted verse. It's just, mwah. And
okay,
I love Kendrick in this element.
Before we even discuss the coup de grace.
The coup de grace.
Yeah, the last bit. Let's go. You had paused it just before the last bit there.
Think I won't drop the location. I still got PTSD. The big 3. Nigga, it's just big me. Nigga, bum. What? I'm really like that. And your best work is a light pack. Nigga, Prince outlived Mike Jack. Nigga, bum.
Forget the big 3. It's just big me. He says your best work is a light pack. Prince outlived Mike Jack.
So and that is another triple entendre, because yes, Prince lived longer than Michael Jackson. Prince was the artsy, less commercially successful artist. Mike Jackson was the pop, king of pop. But also Mike Jack, someone that steals the mic, someone that jacks other people's raps, aka someone with the ghostwriter. Come on now.
Are you even listeing to that?
Come on now.
And of course, Drake did say that what did he say? One away from Mike. What was it? What was his line? When
he said, I surpassed the Beatles, I'm one away from Mike. Yeah, I get that.
And that he kept repeating there. So he says, nah, Prince outlived Mike Jack. So again, for the record, K-Dot is not saying I'm Prince, you're Mike. He's saying Prince outlived Mike Jack, which is low-key a threat. But then also, like Phil said, Prince was generally considered the more artistic artist with artistic integrity. Whereas Michael Jackson, and don't get me wrong, I love Michael Jackson. Top-notch music. But he was more commercially successful and less artistically integriful. Look, we could spend all day breaking this down. But the point is, Your fave sucks. And I got to go now, Philip. It's 2.5 hours in.
That's it. The patrons will get the rest of these talking points. We got like 6 more talking points. We'll get to them. But yeah, this was fun. I think Penguin trailer. Do you want to talk about that? I haven't seen it yet, actually.
I saw it, but I mean, there's a trailer for a movie, The Penguin, which looks to be in the world of the Batman.
Is it a movie or a TV series? I thought they were making a series.
Sorry, it's a TV series, not a movie. It's a TV series. Sorry. And
Also,
it looks very interesting.
Does it still have Colin Farrell?
Yes, Colin Farrell is a penguin.
Does he still not look like Colin Farrell?
Yes, and he's with the same like facial prosthetics and makeup and whatever.
What's the point?
It's going to be interesting. It'll be good. I look forward to it. But I mean,
Mm-hmm. All right, cool.
Bad Boys 4. Anyway, no.
I saw the trailer. I'm just. Dan and I obviously you and I remembered because we did the premiere. We hosted the premiere, and then we watched the movie, and we were both very disappointed coming out of that movie because Bad Boys turned into Fast and Furious. And I just have one comment after watching the trailer, which is, Dad, you know what I miss? I'm all for inclusion. You know what I mean? I'm all for all body types being represented. You know what I mean? That's what that's what I'm all about. But I grew up in a time when it doesn't matter how fat you were the rest of the year, but when it was time to shoot a blockbuster action movie, the lead actors got into shape. I don't care what steroids they took. I don't care what they did, whether they went on the knife, whether they took Ozempic of the day, whatever they did. They dropped 100 pounds. They got super ripped, and they pitched up on set ready to go. I don't understand why Martin Lawrence's cheeks look like a newborn baby, bruh.
Go check out the Bad Boys 4 trailer. Also, I haven't watched X-Men 97 because as I was about to, I was like, nah, screw that. I'm going to start X-Men, the animated series from the beginning.
Wait, do you have Disney Plus?
Yes. That's where I'm watching it.
Okay, we'll talk off air. We'll talk off air about this because I've been thinking flames. Because I can't even access my Disney Plus anymore. They've blocked VPNs, bruh. So I can't even log into my own account.
For the record, I mean, I loved the original X-Men animated series. But maybe you shouldn't rewatch it when you're older. It ruins the memories.
I find it fun actually.
I'm enjoying it. Don't get me wrong, but it had such legendary mythical status in my head. And as I'm watching it, you see all the things that that animation wasn't so great or that acting. It's a cartoon, and I'm still early on, so do
you know the wild thing as it goes. But you know the wild thing is, so in that vein, a couple of weeks ago.
Philip, we need to wrap it up.
Hold on. I was babysitting a bunch of friends' kids. And I just happened to come across Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles because they wanted to watch the Netflix version. I was like, I'm pretty sure I saw the original version on YouTube. So I was like, wait, before you guys see this is where it started. And I put them on the old version. And like you said, and you're like it was fun watching it for me. But then you also see like the animation. They reuse a lot of scenes. Yep. It doesn't advance quickly. Like the dialogue is off. There's a lot of exposition. You're just like, yo. But that was fun. Anyway, rewatch those cartoons. I've got the 2 episodes of X-Men 97 on my legally purchased Disney Plus account. So I shall be watching those when I get a chance. I'm just ready to be very, 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 very behind on work. So I need to catch up on that. But yeah, looking forward to that. Dune 2, did you say you finally watched it? Oh yeah, you did. You spoke about it last week. Never mind.
Yeah, let's talk about. Absolutely should watch it.
Pick one song. Which one song are you feeling right now that you want to share with the listeners?
I really like this Night Freak song, but I don't like it more than his previous songs.
It's got a vibe.
I would say let's play this new Ishe.
I'll play a bit of a song. So there's this artist that I just came across. His name is Mazane. Mazane is from Malawi, and he's got a song called Tikafike, and I like this jam.
I wanna love you in my lifetime. I wanna love you in the next one. Swear to God I'm done with the silly games. Niwe wa mene wa nisiti sama way. I've been praying for a long time. I can't believe it, now you're on mine, yeah. I would give it all away in a heartbeat for you. Ntima wako ndigwilite, ukamadwala ndiuchilite. Tilili mozu saka ige iwe, kaya nkutali tikafika ife. Pali zingapo ndikuziwize, ululu wako ndiutimize, yeah. Tilili mozu saka ige iwe, kuliwose tikafika ife. 1, 2, 3, bakatika fike. 1, 2, 3,
bakatika fike. Hey.
Sounds dope. All right. Mr. Producer, please put in Ishia's new song, Purple Hue. And I think we can take this opportunity to end things here, Philip.
All right. All good. Once again, thank you guys so much for supporting the podcast. Thank you for following us. Thank you for your patience. We'll continue to push out developments. Our 10-year anniversary is coming up fastly. It's fastly approaching. 10 years, Dan. Who would have thought? Who would have thought we'd be here? Look at us.
And here we are. 10 years. We need to celebrate properly.
So yeah, man. Thank you guys so much. Once again, if you want to support the podcast, please head on over to twobroketwimbos.com/Patreon. /support or donate. Let me try it again. Crims, get this out. Once again, if you want to support the podcast,
don't cut anything out.
Head on over to twobroketwimbos.com/donate, where you'll have multiple options. The easiest is Patreon because that's a recurring theme. A recurring payment, but you can also pay us on PayPal, World Remit. We're accepting of all payment platforms. We had a question from one of our listeners who was like, yo, is the only way we can support you guys if we're in Zim on Patreon? No. You can send us money on EcoCash. It's fine. EcoCash, transfer, RTGS, preferably Nostro. You know what you can even do? You can offer to pay for our DSTV. We'll give you the details. Don't worry. You can even do that. No problem. It's, as Dan said, he's getting into Formula 1. Formula 1 season has begun. Damn, we didn't even discuss. How did you like the Australian GP?
Top notch. I liked Verstappen at first, and then I got tired of it, and I felt in myself a savage joy to see that he did not finish. I didn't watch the
race. Wait, you like Verstappen?
But I did. Well, like when he, you know what I like?
You know his fans are racist, right? You don't know that, right?
I don't care about his fans. When he first came out, right? Max was dominant, and I as much as I liked Max, I didn't like someone being so dominant because it felt boring. I felt like I wanted a little bit more, a little more tussle, a little bit more back and forth. So, I was happy to see, there's this young kid, Max. He's got the juice. You know what I'm saying? That's what it felt like. And I was like, that's pretty cool. And then when he started getting dominant and he's also just like a little, not the most likable character of all time, Then I started showing a little bit more interest in things being shaken up a little bit. So, I think I'm quite happy with how things turned out generally.
Okay. All right. I don't think you watched the race, but okay.
I didn't watch the race. I wasn't, I had other things that I was dealing with this weekend, but I saw I didn't even watch the highlights. I just saw the results.
Oh, okay. It was actually very exciting. I enjoyed this race. It was good to watch. But yeah, thank you guys so much for supporting the podcast. We love and appreciate y'all. If you want to hit us up on the socials. But more so, twobroketwimbos.com/sign up, or just email us, donate@twobroketwimbos.com. We're taking a step back from social media because, it's a little untrustworthy. So it's better to reach us directly. We're trying to build community on direct platforms where we can have one-to-one communication. So yeah, on that note, we'll catch you guys on the next one. We out.
Holding on to you. that your body nowhere's new. And I'ma tell you like, this ain't a game and I'm not trying to rush. Give me your lips, baby, I need your touch. Tonight, there's no you and I, darling, it's just us. However, darling, this isn't love, because if we were in love, then darling, there would be more trust in the words I say and actions that you don't see. I mean, I'm telling you this, darling, please believe me.